Steve Phillips said that on Sunday, and then it was announced that Brandon Woodruff was likely to miss the wild card round. So that's on him for picking the Brewers as his sleeper contender in the Major League Baseball playoffs. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. You got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. If you're joining us on YouTube, welcome to the show.
Yeah.
I will be serving my punishments today. If you want to go check it out on YouTube, at 101 ESPN STL is where you go to find it. Our YouTube cams, as always, are presented by Air Alliance Team.
Oh, they got to be
Shout
so
out to them for making this possible. I will be serving my punishments today where I will be simulating child labor. Well, childbirth.
I was gonna
going
say, come on.
through labor, I should clarify.
Just respect to the women that go through it.
The way this is going to work today, the end of every segment, we will turn this bad boy on. It will send shockwaves through my core for 10 seconds.
I'm so nervous for you, man.
We'll be upping the juice every single segment.
Yeah, we will.
We got 12 segments. We'll do this 12 different times. By the end of the show today, I'm probably going to have a greater appreciation for my wife.
Yeah.
And I will be very happy to be off the air.
The safety word is supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, and if you mispronounce it, then it keeps going.
Mine is actually pineapple. So
Is that the safe word you guys use?
So if we could stick with that, it's just easy for me to remember.
Ours is hot dog.
Is it?
Yeah.
T-bone?
What safety word do you use by yourself?
Crawfish.
Oh, weird.
It's a weird thing to yell, man.
I like that was the first thing that came to mind for T-Bone.
Crawfish.
He's like, crawfish. That's what I'm going with.
Good. You having crawfish for dinner, I'm assuming.
All right, let's talk a little baseball, shall we? I'm really excited about this year's postseason. I don't know what it is about this year specifically that got me juiced up, but I think it's the fact that I don't really know if there's a legitimate, overwhelming favorite. I don't view the Dodgers as that. I think the Braves should be seen as that, but their pitching has broken in the last couple of weeks in a way that at least opens up the possibility that somebody could beat them. And I also find it interesting that if Philly advances past the Marlins, which I think all of us are expecting, that matchup is something that could absolutely go in the wrong direction in a 5-game series for Atlanta. So in the National League, I don't see an overwhelming favorite. In the American League, there are so many great teams top to bottom that I think there's like 5 of them that could legitimately get out of the AL, and it shouldn't shock anybody. Alex, for you, what's the thing that you're most looking forward to in terms of a storyline, a matchup, whatever it is in this year's Major League Baseball playoffs?
I mean, there's a couple. Like, I'm very curious to see if somebody can knock off the Braves, because I might... Maybe I'm in the majority just in this room. I'm in the minority. I don't see anybody in the National League that can actually beat the Braves. And when it comes to that team, can somebody knock them off like the Philadelphia Phillies did last year? Like, is there another dark horse opponent this year that could do it? But the other, and the major storyline for me, is what's the American League going to look like? And I think that's where my excitement comes into play, because I do feel like that's wide open. I mean, there might be clear-cut favorites for certain people, the way that Baltimore played down the stretch. Obviously, Houston has been there, done that. Tampa has a really good offense that always seems to be in there. But to me, that field is wide open, so that's the one I'm most interested in, and frankly can't wait to find out what the American League looks like.
Yeah, I'm fascinated in the wild card round to see this Toronto-Minnesota series, because it is a series that I feel like is kind of being slept on, because Minnesota, you look at the front of that rotation, and you've got Pablo Lopez, Sonny Gray. One should have been Cardinal, one hopefully future Cardinal. And then they've got Joe Ryan, but the hope would be they don't have to get there. They're getting Carlos Correa back. They're starting to get a little bit healthy. Their offense, like, it's okay. It's been good in the final month, but it doesn't feel like it's like I look at that lineup and go, whoa, that is loaded. And then you've got Toronto. They feel like last year's Philadelphia team, where they're a 6 seed that gets in, and if everything goes right with the front end of their rotation with Barrios, you've got Kikuchi that's there, Gossman, who's the other one I'm forgetting? Bassett's in that rotation as well. Like, that's the rotation that can go on a run. They've got the offense that if it gets hot, they can end up being a team that goes on a run. They feel like this year's Philadelphia Phillies team, yet I'm not convinced that they're getting out of that series against the Minnesota Twins. Yeah. And to your point, it doesn't feel like there's an overwhelming favorite. I would say maybe the Braves are that, but they've got so many questions with injuries too. Free dealing with a blister. Charlie Morton out with a finger injury. Their bullpen's good, but it's not great like it has been in years past. Every team that you look at comes into this postseason with one major question. Unlike years past where it has felt like, and I know I think Atlanta lost last year to Philadelphia. That team felt like a team that was, circle them, they're going to get to the World Series. And it just didn't end up happening.
But does every team have a perfect area in their game? Because when I look at the Braves, they're about as perfect as you could ask for on offense. And frankly, defense, too, for how they play. I don't know, at least in the National League, if there's any team that's as good as the Braves are in that area.
Nobody does any one thing as well as the Braves hit.
Yeah, because the Philadelphia Phillies have issues at the corners, third base and first base.
However, I think you can make a case that in a 5-game series, offense can slump. You know, like weird stuff happens with hitting in a 5-game scenario. Like it's entirely possible. Hey, the Braves have one weird game to start out that series. And then game 2, let's say they go up against Zach Wheeler. Well, we've seen what that looks like in a postseason era. That guy can shut anybody down. Game 3, maybe they go up against Nola and Nola finds a fountain of youth and he looks awesome. And boom, now you're into game 4 and it's like, oh boy, this is going to get a little squirrely for you quicker than anybody could have possibly expected. The Dodgers, I don't think do anything as well as what people... The Dodgers are the team that I'm shorting. I've been shorting them all year, and eventually they're going to win the World Series, and I'm going to leave saying, I don't understand. They weren't good.
Doesn't count.
And, like, you look at that lineup, Alex, it's not all that great. They have Mookie Betts, who's amazing. Freddie Freeman, who is incredible. Will Smith, who I think is really, really good. Other than that, they've got a bunch of supplemental pieces that are just... They've found a way to get the job done this year. They are on the right side of the bracket, though. If they were going to be playing against Philly in the NLDS, I would be putting all of my college fund for Luka on that series just to make sure that I've got double the money in his college fund coming out of that series.
What are you doing to your kid, man?
But they're not, so I'm not going to put any money on that series.
Don't bet your college kid's fund on a baseball game.
On the American League side, is there anybody that would shock you if they made it to the World Series? Genuinely, you would leave and you would say, I'm stunned that that team found a way to get there.
I mean, Tampa Bay would because they don't have pitching.
Like they do, though. It's surprising because, like, it feels like they shouldn't. They do have a decent amount of pitching, especially coming out of that bullpen. They don't have the same guys that we were expecting them to have.
I guess that's where it's at. It's not the McLaughlins. It's not those guys.
I said that the Braves have the offense that is better than anybody else. If there's anybody else that can match them, it's Tampa. The problem for them is they're hurt. Yeah. They've got injuries that they're dealing with right now on the offensive side of things, kind of like how the Brewers are dealing with things with the pitching side.
The team for me is Minnesota. Like, can I see them beating Toronto? And I know I said Toronto's a team that could potentially get on a run. 3-game set we saw last year. Anything can truly happen. Best of 5, I think that still applies. Best of 7, I think the best team usually wins. And I look at Minnesota and I go, okay, maybe they pull it off against Toronto. They do have home field advantage. I don't think they've got a shot against Houston. I think Houston's the sleeping giant in the AL still. And I look at that Minnesota team and I go, they have no path to the World Series. Maybe they pull off an upset against Toronto because of the top 2 and Pablo Lopez and Sonny Gray. Outside of that, I have no idea of how they could get to the World Series. I just see you smirking over there.
I just looked down and saw that it was 11-13. I'm like, oh no.
Hand it over. Hand it over.
All I can think about is we're doing a stupid show.
I thought you were in a text or something.
Damn punishment, man.
Hand it over.
Ready to go to break?
Yeah, you ready to go to break, buddy?
No.
We got to stay on clock.
Yeah.
You ready for the first one?
So I'm a little worried. I put these up a little higher. Is this too close to my heart?
No, it's too close to your... It's like above his belly
I'm CPR
button.
certified.
Are you really?
Yeah. Well, they spelled my name wrong on my card, so I don't know if I'm legally.
That's good to know. That's good to know.
All right, Alex, do you know what you have to do here?
Yeah. Here, you want me to just
If you haven't already, I would check out the YouTube stream. This is what operates my life for the next 10 seconds. Give me a heads up beforehand.
All right.
So I lost our pick'em punishment, as I typically do, which means that I'm being punished this week. We do these every single month, once a month. At the end of the month, whoever has the fewest points, they're the one that gets punished. Damn you, friggin' Broncos, for winning by 3 instead of 4.
Let's ride.
So the way that this is going to work,
Let's ride.
We've got a machine that stimulates what it feels like to be in labor with your child.
Yep.
My wife, who is a superhero, went through labor in July as we gave birth to our first child, baby Luca.
And how long was her labor?
It was 54 hours.
You want to go 54 hours here?
Nope, I've got 10 seconds.
All right.
My wife did text me and say, I'm pretty sure that my contractions were longer than 10 seconds.
Well, they're probably more brutal.
I, however, am a man, which means that I'm a baby, and so we will be doing 10 seconds.
Okay.
I'm going to sit down in this chair because of all of the videos that I've seen of people doing this.
Do you want to put your legs up, too?
Laying down.
Hold on, you're pulling me with you, my man. Okay.
So
Don't make
Tell me
me
when
use
you're
the
ready.
dump
Here,
button,
do you,
please.
I'm going to go ahead and lay back a little bit. We'll get this.
Oh God, he's legit putting the legs up and everything.
All right, we're going to
You
put
ready?
this up. Can
All
you
right.
guys see me over
Yep,
there?
we got you.
All right, I'm going to
Okay,
turn this
we're
on.
doing level 1.
We're doing level
It's just
1.
level 1.
I'm going to turn this on.
Oh, I'm so anxious. Why did I agree to this?
All right.
10 seconds. Hold on. Before we do that, I want to do a stopwatch.
I'll go off of
I want to
pain
do a
volume.
stopwatch.
I'll go pain
All
volume.
right, I'll tell you when.
Tell me when.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
You're watching this.
Uh-huh.
At 10 seconds, you better
Wait till
stop
I
that
turn
thing.
it on first, damn it.
All right.
Ready? Yeah.
All right.
Here we go.
Here we go. 3.
Hold on.
Are we going to count down or what are we doing here?
All right, ready?
Oh, God.
3, 2,
1.
1. Is it coming through?
I don't think so.
Hold on.
Oh, no.
Buddy, what are you doing?
Should be coming through. No?
Don't go too high.
It's on, so maybe we just got to go a little harder with this.
No, don't do anything crazy.
All right, well, I got it on.
What are we doing here?
It's on, so you should be feeling.
It's on! It's on!
It's off. I turned it off.
Go to break. All right.
We'll be back.
Hey, it's BK. So your home has made you equity rich, but only on paper, and you're planning on using that cash to retire, to travel, or maybe just to downsize into a new place that's paid off. good for you. But the longer that you wait, the greater chance that the higher interest rates could chip away at that home's value. And while your home's value is still high, the time to act is right now. You could do so with TrueHold. TrueHold will buy your home right now, and you can stay in your home for as long as you'd like. They'll buy your home for its best current value, and you get to bank all of that cash to do whatever you'd like with. Plus, TrueHold will take care of your property taxes, the insurance, and all of the upkeep, so don't miss out on this opportunity. You can cash in on your equity. You'll stay in your home for as long as you'd like as a renter, and you can visit TrueHold.com to discover how much they'll buy your home for today based on its best current value and not what's coming. Call 1-855-300-9993 or visit them at TrueHold.com to learn about the smarter and faster way to cash out on your home's full value without having to move. That's TrueHold.com.
What a play to Hayes. Not a Vrana. He scores. Hayes' shot deflected over to Vrana. Vrana had the open net. Buried it, and the Blues are on the board. Root far side. One-timer. They score! Vrana, a one-timer from the far circle. Lasered into the back of the net. It's a 4-3 game.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK, that's what it sounded like right here on 101 ESPN last night as the Blues lose the Battle of the Blue. But they won the first game that these two played against each other, so that's really all that matters. You'll hear them again coming up later on this week against the Stars. Pre-game coverage for that one on Thursday, right here on 101 ESPN. No, that's Friday, isn't it?
No, it's Thursday.
Thursday, right here
Thursday
on 101
and
ESPN. At 6
PK's a little frazzled right now.
Yeah, a lot going on. A lot going on here in the studio. Some would say
he's a little buzzed right now. Get it?
I get it. That was well played.
A little shocked.
That was well played. I'm not going to lie. That was a little stronger than I was expecting.
I don't know if you're going to make it till the end of the show. God, that was amazing. I can't wait. Look, do you want to just end the segment now?
I would like to end the show right now.
Oh, no, we can't do that.
I would like this segment to never end. We just talk about the Blues for the next 3 hours and then do one more punishment and then get out of here.
Well, then we'll just do it mid-segment.
Let's talk about Jakub Vrana.
Let's.
Because, man, I think I am his biggest fan in St. Louis, and I keep falling further and further in love with the guy. 10 goals and 4 assists in 20 games with the Blues last year. 3 goals and 2 assists in 3 games in the preseason this year. So he has 13 goals in 23 games as a Blue. That is a 40-plus goal pace. Let's be fair here. Some of these are preseason. And production in the preseason does not translate necessarily to regular season goal production. But this guy is a natural goal scorer, man. And when you see him, whether it's on the power play or at 5-on-5, the one-time shot that you saw last night, the ability to drive offense, he gets the stick or the puck off of his stick quickly. I can't help but get excited about what this could look like with he and potentially Kevin Hayes being on that same line together. Alex, I know he was on the team at the end of last season, but some of that was him getting ingrained into St. Louis, like figuring out, okay, where do I live? What do I do when I'm not at the rink? That kind of stuff. And some of it was getting ingrained into this team's culture and all of that. Jakub Vrana is somebody that I think could help this team go from good to potentially great offensively, both on the power play and at 5-on-5.
I think people are looking at Jakub Vrana and not giving it its due diligence in terms of who he can be because of what his last 3 years were. And yes, that's true, but it's also unfair to him because he had his off-ice issues, and he's with a different team now that's instilled that confidence that they're going to be behind him no matter what. And I think that's what the feeling out process was last year, and now you could tell that the guy looks comfortable. And here's the thing. I always go back to what Kevin Allen said, covers the Red Wings. He said everybody in Detroit when he was there thought he was going to be a 40-plus goal scorer. Sometimes it's hard to look at that and say, like, he can be a 40-goal scorer because he's going to have to do it himself. But watching him play with Kevin Hayes and Sammy Blais, guys, this is a line that is going to stick for Craig Berube And frankly, I think we're seeing the chemistry right now of Vrana and Hayes. And when you come into this season, everybody expects Jordan Kyrou to be a goal scorer. Everybody expects Pavel Buchnevich to be a goal scorer. But the skepticism of this Blues team is, well, where's the other offense coming from? Braden Shen, sure. Brandon Saad's probably only 20 goals. Kevin Hayes is an unknown. Kapanen's an unknown. Where's the goals coming from? Well, they're coming from a guy who was on pace for a stretch of 3 years with Austin Matthews at even strength. He's got a one-time shot on the power play that we saw last night against the Blue Jackets that can be lethal. And he and Hayes and Blais have such chemistry already, and they've only played 2 games together, that I really believe that's going to translate well. And if Jakub Vrana is this player who's got the confidence from his coach and the team that he's on, I don't see why he couldn't put up 35 to 45 goals in a season, which changes the outlook of this Blues team.
Yeah, and he's got one of the best shots on the team, too, and he's got the one-timer to help out on the power play. And
Can you make an argument he's got the best shot on the team?
I'd say
maybe. I mean, Kyrou's is really good.
Yeah.
Like, I think it would be a 1-2 punch of Kyrou and Vrana.
And I know, and Thomas doesn't use it enough to probably fall into this category, but I think Thomas is one of the best shots on the team.
Absolutely.
But I think I think you're right on with 35, 40 goal score because he's got the shot, he's got the speed, which is a difference maker for him, too. And that is why you see Kyrou be such an effective player, using that speed to get into the zone with the shot. And he's got the one-timer. And I think he's going to have a huge year on the power play. Like, I think if we're going to see the Blues power play percentage take an uptick this year from where it was last year, the biggest reason why that I believe is because Vrana's going to help that out. And I know he's on the number 2 unit right now in training camp. I think he's going to be on that top unit by the time we get about 10 games into the season.
And I also think that people say he's on the number 2 power play unit. Don't overlook that number 2 power play unit to be used a lot in games because Craig Berube goes off a feel, and if the first unit can't get any consistency, any flow to their game, he'll throw out that second unit. And the second new unit, which is what last night was, it's going to consist of Brandon Saad, Kevin Hayes, Jakub Vrana, probably Sammy Blais, and then Justin Falk or Scott Perunovich. So you've got 2 units that I truly believe are going to be lethal for this team. I don't see why this power play can't be top 10 in the NHL by the end of the season.
So last year you were 22nd at the end of the year in power play percentage. You were tied for that spot with the Winnipeg Jets. Alex, you think they can legitimately be a top 10 unit on the power play?
I really do. And the only way it's going to happen is if they have legit one-timer threats. And Curb said it on the broadcast last night, and I agree. The best power plays have one-timers on both sides of the goaltender. But the power plays that are up there are ones that at least have one-timer threat. And when you look at both power play units, Jordan Kyrou has shown the ability to use his power play. Jakub Vrana has used his one-timer as well. That's 2 power play units that have that one-timer threat. Now, the issue is Kyrou and Vrana both use it on the same side. So you can't put them on the same unit because one's going off of their offhand. Yeah. But I do believe that this is going to be a unit if they stay healthy, because this is, if you lose your power play quarterback in Torrey Krug or Scott Perunovich, it's going to take a step back because that's what made it so lethal last night was how crisp the passes were. But yeah, I think this could be a top 10 unit with the goal scorers that they have.
I think it's hard to ask much more of Jordan Kyrou on the power play. He gave you 11 goals on that unit last year. That's pretty damn good.
Absolutely.
I think Buchnevich at 8 goals in 63 games can't ask for much more than that.
And you're probably getting
Pavel
10 if he
Buchnevich.
stays healthy.
So that goes to the secondary pieces. You need Brandon Saad to produce more. He had 2 on the power play last year. You need Vrana to go out there and give you that 10 to 12 goal production from the power play as well. Kevin Hayes, maybe he's a guy that can help you on the power play unit. Like, those are the guys that really need to step up. It's the secondary scorers that can help you out because last year you had 46 goals on the power play. You need about 15 to 20 more than that in order to be able to be a top 10 unit on the power play going into this season. It's about finding where those goals come from. I think a lot of them, I think you could probably add another 10 from Jakub Vrana compared to where he was at a year ago. Now it's about where do you find the other 5 to 7? And that's where you get into some of these secondary pieces. I think one guy would be Thomas, maybe having a better year there, Saad and Hayes. I think those are the 3 guys that you could probably point to as maybe improving in that area.
On the air comfort service, well, and Torrey Krug as well. Krug, I mean, he wasn't very effective on the power play last year. 4 goals. What were the assists?
I mean, if all these other guys produced assist-wise, he would be able to get there. I don't have the exact
I think you're just looking at somebody also, Torrey Krug, who wasn't useful on the power play last year because he was injured a lot, and that's going to benefit them. On our Air Comfort Service text line, somebody said, why are you guys continuously so pumped about this Blues? They did nothing to improve their weakness. It's defense. The reason I'm so pumped, I know Tanner is still very skeptical, and BK's kind of in the middle. The reason I'm pumped is because of what we're talking about, the offense. Guys like Vrana, who were only here part season last year. Guys like Kevin Hayes, who looks really strong for this team. It's the offense. It's the power play. That's what's going to make this team thrive. I know that the defense is the exact same. I'm optimistic that it can improve significantly or at least a little from last year, but it's all about the offense. That's what's thriving.
And to that point, the 21-22 team had basically the same defense too.
Yeah.
Where they were not
Nick Leddy.
They were not good defensively. They got masked because of the offense. And if you're someone like Alex that's more optimistic about the team, I can see where this team has kind of that bad the defensive issues, and then I can look at it and go, okay, their offense should be closer to 21-22 than it was last year. And if that's the case, they've got a chance to outscore their problems and be a potential playoff
And if they
team.
don't, it's going to be the same season as last year.
If you're optimistic, I think there's two reasons for that optimism. And it honestly has very little to do with the defense. Like, that's a given. They have to be better. Now, number one, your offense is going to get back to where it was 2 years ago, and you're going to have a ton of 20-goal scores. That's a big piece of this, is they're just going to outscore their problems.
Yeah.
Number two, your goalie's going to be better. Like, that's a big piece of what ended up taking a step back a year ago is your goalie tandem just wasn't as good. You didn't have somebody to make up for Jordan Binnington's in-season lack of play. You know when you get to the postseason, Binnington's going to step his game up. But during the regular season, there are times where he goes through a 12 to 15-game stretch where it just doesn't look good. And 2 years ago, you had somebody that was able to make up for that lack of production from Jordan Binnington. Last year, you really didn't. Last year, you had a guy in Thomas Greiss who was the definition of slightly below average as a goalie. So this year, the hope is they've got a little something better behind him, or Jordan Binnington cuts that 10 to 15 game stretch out of his game. And if you can do that and you get the goal scoring production, this team can fight for a playoff spot. Nobody on this show is telling you they're going to win the Central Division. Nobody on the show is telling you they're going to get to 100 plus
I'm the
points.
most positive, and I don't think they're getting anywhere near that.
We think like around 90.
Yeah, 90 to 92.
A big improvement this year would be like 90, somewhere in that 90 to 95 point range.
That's 4 to 6 more
into
wins.
the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. How do you get that marginal improvement to the place where maybe you're trying to make a slight upgrade at the trade deadline, and then you battle your way into the playoffs, and because you have Jordan Binnington, you give yourself a chance the way that Florida did a year ago. That's really what it comes down to.
Sit back, buddy. Hand it over.
Hey, why don't you tell the people what's coming up next?
Why don't you explain what's about to happen?
All right, as Alex puts my life into his hands, I will go ahead and explain to you why I'm doing this.
Do we have a group show? Oh, here, Jamie Rivers is popping in.
Jamie, did you hear the first one?
I heard it.
So if you're watching us on YouTube, you can check us out at, don't do this yet, Alex.
I know.
At 101 ESPN STL on YouTube is where you can go to find us.
Give them the 3, 2, and just go.
No,
I told him we should have did it in the middle of the segment.
I am.
Are you putting your legs up on purpose?
Can you position your legs another way?
This is rather odd for
Jamie,
us.
you're staring down the barrel right now, man.
I rethinking my life right now.
So the first punishment that we have for our Pick'em challenge is simulating what delivering a baby is like. And I've got these electro things on my stomach right now, and it the first time felt as if I had stuck my finger into an outlet and put it straight into my stomach. And I was just
I'm sure you got a lot of sympathy from the text line.
yeah, they loved it.
From the text
They
line,
said crank
suck it,
it up.
BK, crank it up louder. This kid's not going to make it to the end.
No, I'm not. I'm literally going to be dying. So
Or have to
we're
change
doing this
pants.
at the end of every segment today. So if you want to tune in on YouTube, I would recommend that's the way that you watch this.
Do you remember what level you had it last time?
Yeah, it was at 1.
So now do you just start at level 2? Mm-hmm. Oh, boy.
Yeah, he gets 10 seconds at level 2.
Good luck, man.
Tell me when you're ready, big boy.
Jamie told me he loved this thing.
Yeah,
I
for his
do.
back when he has pain.
Yeah. It's great for that.
The way that they described it on the internet is if you feel like, you know how sometimes when you have like a knee pain or something, they're like, yeah, okay, let me take care of your arm for you. I'll break that so you don't think about your knee. That's basically what this is. Yeah,
it's kind of what
I've
this is.
learned.
It's kind of like parenting.
All right. True. All right. No more.
Somebody on the text line said, I love that Riv just came in to check this out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I got popcorn.
No more delay.
We got to do the same thing, right? We're counting down.
Yeah, we'll count down. We got to get it on first.
I wouldn't trust him with the clock.
You wait on the clock until it starts to hurt. Don't turn it on before I get it. I'm going to turn it on. You ready?
He's already
You press the
sweating.
button.
Don't hit the dump button with your shoe.
Okay, here we go. Okay, tell me when.
Oh, boy.
You got to count down for me again.
All right, we ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1. Hold on, I got to get to the right setting.
Oh, you
3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. What are those noises he makes?
Is there a hyena in the studio?
What are those noises that he makes?
Oh my gosh.
All right, well, congrats. That was only like the first contraction. You're not even dilated yet.
Do you know that tomorrow, by the way, your abs are going to be killing you?
I can feel them. Like
They're going to kill you. Oh, yeah.
I just did a half marathon 2 days ago, so this is
Oh, my
great.
God. Well, good luck, guys.
We'll see you at the next segment,
Yeah, I'll
Jamie.
be
Come on
back.
in. We'll be on level 3.
Get the popcorn ready.
We've got NFL quick hitters while BK tries to reset himself next on 101 ESPN.
Oh, God.
Alex Ferrario with you to talk about My Dentist 100 West Dental Spot. And look, when it comes to dentists, you've got to make sure you're going to the right one. I've had my horror story where the dentist didn't do the proper x-rays, the proper exams when I got my monthly cleaning or every 6-month cleaning. And the next thing I know, he misses a tumor in my mouth. I'm losing 7 teeth and have a lot more issues than I was prepared for. You know how I avoid that? By going to the right dentist, making sure that you're on top of everything, making sure they're doing the preventative procedures that take care of you and your mouth in the long run. And that's 100 West Dental Spot. They just built a brand new office. It's got the most modern technology, and the patient experience is at the front of the mind for everybody there. It's a specific approach to dentistry, and you can book online. And the best part about this is you can even do virtual consultations with the doctor before you actually go in. If you've got insurance, if you don't have insurance, no problem. They've got a membership discount plan that starts in 2024. It aids in the cost of dental work for those that don't have dental insurance. So give them a call today. Tell them Alex Ferrario sent you. You'll fall in love with 100 West Dental, 636-585-0100 or 100westdental.com.
Taylor Hendricks is here with a Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The MLB playoffs start today, and tonight here on 101 ESPN, you can hear Game 1 between the Philadelphia Phillies and Miami Marlins, as well as pregame coverage starting tonight at 6:30. And make sure you tune in to the show on YouTube at 101 ESPN STL. At the end of each segment, BK will be serving his punishment today. The Sports Center update was driven by Johnny Londoff. Find your road shop 24/7 at londoff.com, londoffAutoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
All right, let's dive into some NFL quick hitters alongside Alex and T-Bone. I'm BK. Coming up in 5 minutes, I'll serve my next punishment.
By the way, for the amount of people that are texting in telling BK to man up that he can handle this, I'd save the text until you put one of these on, because I tested.
Hey, go look at YouTube videos of people that have done this.
I tested
I'm certainly
this
not
thing,
alone.
and it's not fun.
All right. So let's dive into some NFL quick hitters, Alex.
All right.
I'm wrong about everything, as we know, because I'm being punished when it comes to NFL picks. Last night, I said during the show, the Seahawks minus 1.5 at the Giants feels like way too good to be true. So clearly Vegas knows something. I guess the good bet is Giants, even though we all know that the Giants are bad and the Seahawks are good. So I don't totally understand why we would go that route. Well, no. We ended up being right, and Vegas was clearly wrong on this one. The Giants are awful, dude. Watching that game last night, I'm not a Daniel Jones defender. I would say I'm one of the more critical people on the radio, here locally at least, on what Daniel Jones was last year and who he's going to be long term. I think they messed up big time, giving him that big deal, and I said that the moment that he signed it. Last night was not on him. That offensive line is so damn bad, it didn't matter if they had prime Aaron Rodgers behind it. They had no chance to function as an offense. The defense is bad. The offensive line is horrendous. This Giants team is among the worst in the NFL right now, and it's going nowhere fast.
And I heard Troy Aikman say it on the broadcast last night that it's odd because this offensive line, like, they have heavily invested in it in terms of draft picks, in terms of free agent signings. Like, it's not like these dudes are all 6th or 7th round picks. These guys are significant assets, and they look lost. So I don't know if it's an offensive line coach. I don't know if it's the coordinator, and the game plan that they're setting up just doesn't make sense. But they look lost out there. And, I mean, it's turning more and more into the biggest joke into the NFL right now. Not just Daniel Jones, but the Giants itself, because there was so much hype last year. I believed in Brian Daboll. I thought the dude knew what he was doing.
I still do.
I do as well. But Daniel Jones looked competent last season. And it's like all of a sudden the team went from expectations to dud.
It was smoke and mirrors, man. We said this all year. The Vikings...
Are you dying?
Is this from the punishment?
Is this the punishment?
I think something's happening to me.
Oh, man.
The Vikings and the Giants were both smoke and mirrors last year. And we all said it in the moment. And it took all year long before their magic was able to run out. But in the one-score games, they were both getting incredibly lucky. I'm sorry, man, that's what it was. It was just luck. It was luck and fortune, and it worked for the season. We see this in baseball sometimes, where a team just has a miraculous season with their batting average on balls in play, or they're really good with runners in scoring position. Over time, that fortune is probably going to run out.
Miami.
And that's what we're watching this year. The Minnesota Vikings are not a good football team. They were a year ahead of time, and they're probably going to have to trade or move on from Kirk Cousins after the season because they need to go into a full-blown rebuild. The same is true of the Giants. The problem for the Giants, though, is that they're locked in now. Daniel Jones is guaranteed to be their quarterback for at least the next 2 years. And then they can potentially get out of it. They should have just franchise tagged him, figured out if this is something that is real, and then after the season, if he is the guy that you think he was going to be, then you go ahead and give him the long-term extension. And if it costs you more money, so be it, man. He earned it. But if not, then at least you give yourself the out of being able to move on after 1 year of Daniel Jones. They didn't, and now they're screwed as a result.
Yeah, and he's the kind of quarterback that I'm with you. He should never have been signed to that contract. He's the kind of quarterback that needs time in the pocket. He's slow on his decision-making when he has time, and now when you speed up his clock even more, you see some of the decisions that he makes last night. Again, that loss was not on him, but that pick six that he threw,
that was bad.
He sped up. He sped up his process. Why? Because he's fearful of that offensive line that I can't tell you how many times I saw whiff on blocks last night. That was pathetic.
Speaking of quarterbacks that are struggling early on in the season, Joe Burrow, first quarterback in NFL history to attempt at least least 150 passes in his team's first 4 games of the season and average fewer than 5 yards per attempt. The Bengals have scored the fewest offensive touchdowns in the league this year. Guys, Joe Burrow is very clearly not right. He is playing out there not to get hurt, and they are having to put him in shotgun, and they're doing quick hitters all day long. They're not doing anything where he's getting out into space. It's a very static offense right now. They're 1-3 on the season. Going into this weekend, they're traveling to Arizona, and then they have Seattle at home. Is this thing irreparable? Are the Bengals going to get too far behind in order to, before they can try to get back into the playoff mix?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you were going to go down this path of not being good for the first 4 weeks of the season, you shouldn't have played Joe Burrow at all. And I understand why they did, because he's your best chance of winning, but you knew he wasn't right. You knew he wasn't right in the preseason. And he went out there for week 1. Again, I give him credit for it. But, yeah, you're not going to be able to fix this if you keep throwing Joe Burrow back out there. If he's not healthy, you don't have your best chance to win. So you should sit him. But the problem is you sitting him isn't going to benefit you. This might just be a lost season.
I'm not sure it's
I would sit him the next 2 weeks, by the way.
I would, too.
I think the next 2 weeks are critical for them. They've got to win at least. They got to go 1-1. They can't lose both. And I think Arizona, as we've seen, is a very competitive and feisty team, even though they've got a very lack of talent on that roster. Yep. They've got to go 1-1. If they can go 1-1, they can get into that bye in which they'll be 2-4.
But man, look at what they've got coming out. They've got at San Francisco, Buffalo, Houston, and then at Baltimore.
The hope would be is if you can get Burrow healthy. If Burrow can get healthy with that bye week, or at least closer to healthy than he is now, that changes the offense, I think, and that's what gives him a shot for those games.
I would sit him. I would sit him this week.
I would too.
I would say, hey, Joe, I know that we need to beat Arizona, but our chances of making the playoffs completely come down to whether or not you can help us in that 4-game stretch coming out of the bye week. And so right now, if we rest you, you basically get a month off. We're giving you from October 1st up until October 29th to get yourself right for that San Francisco game. And that game and those next 4 weeks, the month of November essentially determines the outcome of our season. We're putting it on you. We need you to get healthy. Take some time off right now. I think they messed this up. Jamar Chase told them all preseason. He said it publicly. I need you back by week 7. I need you ready to go for that stretch run. And the Bengals decided to go ahead and put him out there. I'm sure he's telling them, hey, I want to be out there with my guys. I don't blame him. It's something that I respect about Joe Burrow. The guy is an absolute gamer, but it's hurting the team right now.
You know, the part that I don't get too is like Zach Taylor's job going into the season. It's not like it was up where he was going to get fired. I mean, there was a lot of backing of Zach Taylor. So to sit here and I'm only assuming in this circumstance, like he's the one that's like, hey, if you're good to go, Joe, we'll put you out there.
I think this is an ownership decision. I don't know if you saw the video last week, but the owner was driving around in his little 4-wheeler around the practice field with Joe Burrow in the
and not Marshawn Lynch style.
Yeah.
Well, that's terrible then. Like you put your team in jeopardy then. If you're forcing him to play and he's not right. And
I think he wants to play. I think he told the owner, I want to play. And the owner said, we can't risk this. And he said, I want to play though. And he said, all right, we're going to trust you on this.
Well, when you take the coach's word in this one and be like, no, I don't think we should.
I think Taylor knows that they can't win without him. And that's why I think they can't rest him now. I understand that he's like 50%.
With that offense, you should be able to put a quarterback and at least find a way to be adequate.
What's the quote from Peyton Manning? You don't practice if you lose your starting quarterback. That's what they are. They rest Joe Burrow these next 2 weeks. They lose to Arizona. They lose to Seattle. They are done. And that's the point that they're at right now. They've got to get him to play through this. They've got to get him as healthy as possible. They've got to go 1-1, if not 2-0 in these next 2, and then hope that calf heals up during that bye week to get ready for that stretch. That's where they're at right now.
I'm worried about the Bengals. I think they are irreparably harmed. I don't think they can come back from this. And the only way that they do is if Joe Burrow gets right quickly. He's got to get right, and he's got to get right coming out of that bye. They're still technically alive, and if they win this weekend, they'll be 2-3, and everything will still be out in front of them. They've come back from this kind of a start to the season as recently as literally last year. But man, does it look ugly right now, and Joe Burrow's health is the biggest reason why there are questions about them in the long run. With Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Man, these segments go so fast.
Well, they do.
I'm not going to lie to you. They go so fast.
One more time this hour. One more time this hour.
Only 10 more.
Get on up.
10 more to go. All right. So we are doing our pick'em punishments today. I'm serving my punishment for this week. I am simulating, or this machine is simulating
you're not
what it feels like to go through childbirth. specifically the labor for.
JR tweeted and said he's joining us in the 12 o'clock hour. I quote tweeted. I said, "Hey, JR, want to hear a grown man scream?"
God, dude, I can feel my
Oh yeah, they're
core is,
tightening
like,
up. Yep, they're tightening up.
swelling.
All right, buddy.
Okay, hold on.
You know
Gotta
what?
get my,
Women don't get to say "hold on" when the contractions come. They just come.
I know, but I can because I'm not a woman. First of all, second of all, this is not childbirth.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So-
It's just like it.
If you guys want to check this out, you can do so on YouTube at 101 ESPN STL.
Yeah.
Our YouTube cams are brought to you by Air Alliance Team.
Yeah, it's going to take a little bit to get set up. So
All right. So I'll let you know when it gets started, Alex.
So we're
you
gonna-
tell me when you're starting on your
we're
end.
going to move up to number 3.
Oh, God, what?
baby.
Yeah, we're going to move up to number 3.
You sure?
Yeah.
I don't know that I'm sure.
I mean, you're not sure.
Why don't we
I'm
do 2
very
for
sure.
now?
Well, we'll stick to 3.
Make sure that 2 is good before we get to 3.
Got to find a way to get to
They
8.
told you not to go past 4. I want to make that very clear.
Don't worry about the instructions. It's fine. All right, buddy. Ready?
No.
3, 2, 1.
All right, I'll let you know whenever we're ready. Oh, God, these things happen
Here
so
we
fast,
go.
dude.
Here we
God, I
go.
can feel it coming my way. Oh, God. Oh, it's on burst. It's on burst.
Okay, now we're good. Oh, you kicked me. All right, 10 seconds out, buddy. Congrats, man. Congrats.
That one was so much more sustained.
Congrats, buddy. You just
I didn't like that at all.
Oh, the fact that Alex goes, he kicked me.
jerk. That hurt.
Oh, can I hold your hand next
No,
time?
God, no. Now you're dilated at least a centimeter. Coming up next, send us your questions. 314-399-9646, Air Comfort Service text line. You can ask BK what the pain is like next on 101
I'm
ESPN.
exhausted. These segments are going so fast, and because of the punishments,
I mean, you got to go to a commercial right now.
we have like
so
a minute left
Coming
or
up.
less of every segment.
let's hit the punishment.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. Coming up in 5 minutes, I'll get punished again. God bless
5
it.
minutes, more like 2 minutes.
I need some time, man.
Just breathe, man. Just breathe.
This one comes from the 217. Guys, I know your show is from 11 to 2, but what time do you guys show up for the show, and what time do you end up leaving?
Everyone put the jokes in. Oh, Alex shows up at 11 o'clock.
Yep. Bingo.
It depends on the day. Before I had a child, I'd stay typically around 3:34-ish, and we all like to be here together by 10. As long as everybody's in the room together to get everything put together for the show, 10 o'clock is kind of like, we need to be here. Some days are different than others, though. Some days I'll get here at 7:30, 8 o'clock. Other days I'll get here at 10.
Yeah.
So it depends how much we have to do in the morning. I do a lot of my work at night, personally.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it really is dictated off of what the morning schedule is like. My girls go to daycare Mondays and Fridays, so I'm here earlier. Tuesday through Thursday, I'm home a little bit more, but Tuesdays and Thursdays are Blues games. So since I'm gone from whenever I leave the house until 11 p.m. at night, I try and stay a little longer at home with the girls before I leave. So it really, I'm here by 10 every day so that we can start our show prep.
Yeah, about 9:30, 10 is when I'm here. If BK's out and I am producing the show and I have to cut the audio, I'm here about 9 o'clock those days, just a little bit earlier to make sure I can get the audio.
When one of us
time.
are out, we're always here
Yeah.
a little earlier so
I
that
know
we can use
nobody
a little
believes
more.
it, but I actually do work on this show.
Yeah, well.
Well, we're seeing the
And
work
then
you're putting in right
I'm
now,
typically
man.
here till about 3:30 most days because I'm the one that's getting the podcast up, socials done, YouTube with the timestamps.
And I know that sounds super glamorous to all of you guys. A reminder, most of our work is done at night.
I was going to say, it's
Yeah.
really like you don't go home and turn it off. It's you go home and then you're on social media still, which I know sounds really difficult,
the
and
thing
you're
I always
watching
tell
Our
games.
jobs are awesome, and I have zero
Oh, yeah,
complaints.
no, I
but
love my
The
job.
thing I always
lot of
tell
hours.
people is,
You don't have
it
nights,
sounds-
you don't have weekends.
yeah, it sounds good that you get to be home at 3, but if the Cardinals
Yeah.
are like playing the Pittsburgh Pirates in the middle of August and the game doesn't mean anything, I can't just go home and say, you know what, I want to watch a movie tonight. I get to watch the below 500 Cardinals and the below 500 Pirates because
There's a lot of There's just a lot of
woohoo!
stuff that you got to do. I mean, like if you're a teacher, you take a lot of work home. If you are in sales, you take work home. We're just
It's the
like
same
rest
as
of you
grading
guys.
papers. I mean, not because that's a lot more taskful, but like we're going home
Yeah,
and
it's
we're paying
grading
attention
papers,
to that.
but not important.
You're putting notes together with things like that. Absolutely.
All right,
Yeah,
from
that's
the
true.
636, Alex, do you think we could see Thomas, Cairo, and Vrana on a line together
No.
this year?
I don't. That might be a defensive nightmare for the Blues. I
fit
wouldn't
the
do
theme
it.
of the team.
Berube likes to go in pairs, and I think the pair is Thomas and Buchnevich. I don't think the pair is Thomas and
interesting,
Kyrou.
really.
I think the pair is Thomas Buchnevich. And then Kyrou is the one that moves around. Kyrou played. Now, this was because Kapanen was out with an injury and Kyrou was out with an injury. But Kyrou played with Shannon Saad in a game, and Kapanen played last night with Dean and Bolduc. I think Kyrou is interchangeable with lines depending on how he plays, just like I believe Vrana is paired up with Hayes. So I don't think Vrana's going anywhere.
I'd agree with that. I don't see a scenario once you put them together. It's just too much of a defensive liability with those groups. And I think Vrana actually pairs, at least early on, at least I think this has been the pairing, very well with Hayes.
Absolutely.
And I don't see, right now, I don't see why you would change
Your
that.
pairs are Thomas Buch, Saad and Shen, or I'd just call them Shad.
Yeah, we got that.
And then Hayes and Vrana are your pairs. That's your pairs, which means Kyrou, Kapanen, and Blay are floaters. At least that's the way
I
I've
would
seen
throw
it.
Neighbors in there as
I
a
would as
floater
well,
that's on the fourth line
because
right
Blay
now.
could move down, Neighbors could move up.
All right, final question here from the 314. Guys, if you had to place a wager on one team to win the World Series this year, who would you go with?
Am I trying to win money, or am I trying to just be right?
Yeah, you can take it however you want.
I'm still going to put it on the Braves. I think they're a well-oiled machine right now, and I do think last year probably stuck in most of their crawl, and you have a historic season for Ronald Acuna Jr., and I never doubt that going into the playoffs.
I would probably go with Houston. I said this in our first segment. I think they're the sleeping giant in the AL. Like, nobody wants to talk about it. They sleptwalked through the regular season, and they still won the AL West. And they've got a great top end in Verlander and, I'm forgetting his name all of a sudden, Valdez. And their bullpen's solid, and then the lineup is just great as well. So I think Houston's the sleeping giant. So I would say Houston.
You guys took the two favorites in Vegas right now. Atlanta is plus 250. Houston is 4.5 to 1.
Blue Jays would be a dark horse for me.
That's my dark horse that I'm going to take.
That'd be my dark.
18 to 1, Toronto Blue Jays. That's a team. You mentioned it earlier, T-Bone. It's a great comparison. That's the team that feels kind of like the Phillies from last year. The difference is they've got an excellent defense. Toronto is awesome defensively. They're arguably the best defense in the sport right now, and they've got pitchers that strike people out.
Yeah.
So when you have that kind of a combination in an offense that has the potential, even though it didn't always this year, slug through the postseason, yeah, you got a chance to be able to go to the World Series. So that's the one that I would go with. They're 18 to 1 in Vegas right now.
I want Toronto and Atlanta. That's the matchup I want for a World Series.
Got to take a drink of water.
You want me to do it while you're drinking?
I saw someone on YouTube said I should feed him ice chips.
You want to come over and hold his hand on this one?
No, I'm good. Somebody's got to push the buttons back
I am
here.
holding this pen very tight.
I'm going to laugh if it snaps.
In your hand.
In play. All right, don't do anything yet. We're getting ready. I'm serving my punishment this week for the first month of the Pick'em Challenge. It didn't go my way, as it typically does. Somebody on the text line made a fair point. They said, if you don't like it, BK, pick better. You're absolutely correct.
Absolutely.
I'm not complaining about this.
Yeah.
I'm upset about it. I'm mad about it. I don't love it, but I'm not complaining about it.
Just wait till you get the prostate
I'm going to serve my
exam.
punishment just the way that I should.
All right,
I'm
man,
serving
enough
this on
talking.
YouTube at 101 ESPN STL. The studio cams are powered by Air Alliance Team.
They're having a great day, Air Alliance
We've
team, with
got
this one.
9 more of these throughout the day today.
All right,
I've already served 3. We're at level 3 still.
Yeah, try not to kick me this time, man. Okay, it
I
hurts.
cannot promise you that.
Jeez.
This is tough, man.
We're holding a level 3.
We're not going past 4. I'm making the executive decision right now.
Okay, we agreed.
All right,
1
because
through
he said
12.
executive decision.
Yeah, that's
I
The medical doctor
Our
said don't
fearless
go beyond
leader.
4, and I agree
No, the
with him
pamphlet said
currently.
you're fine. All right, buddy.
Oh,
I'm
stop
gonna turn it on,
Okay.
and then I'm gonna pot it up.
Okay. Are you going to burst, or are you going to?
I'm going normal.
Okay.
I don't like burst mode. Burst
Okay.
doesn't inflict enough pain.
It did.
I could raise the rate of pain if you
No,
like that.
please don't. Just
Okay,
keep
here
it
we
where it
go.
was.
3, 2, 1.
Oh God, they're already on. They're warming up quicker now. Ah!
I can't see the clear. All right, Jeremy Rutherford of The Athletic, our Blues Insiders, next on 101 ESPN.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK, I just got a text from my wife.
Tell him what it says.
Said, guys, I'm exhausted. She said, you know this doesn't mean you get to nap after picking up your son today, right?
God, I love you, Kara.
It's funny, we just said that's what he's going to do when he gets home.
I said, Luca's at daycare, so you go home and sleep on the couch for an hour.
There's also a tweet that just went out. Guys, why does it sound like BK Sports Talk is dying as he's screaming on the air at 101 ESPN? I'm serving him a punishment this week, specifically today. I am genuinely exhausted right now.
Everyone is very concerned you might soil yourself by the end of the show.
It's in play.
I don't know if Jamie and Stalter are going to be okay with that. You should probably discuss.
Stalter specifically should be worried, considering this is where he stands.
Well, just don't get it on the mic.
Randy also concerned.
Oh, yeah.
Tim, I think, would be fine standing anywhere. He doesn't care.
Probably been in it before, right?
Let's go to the 101 ESPN
You
hotline.
waste more time. We're just going to have to get to another one, man.
God, I want this to be a long segment.
JR needs a hard 5 minutes on this one.
JR, let's talk some Blues hockey. How you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing really well. And normally I can go the whole 12 to 15, but I got an interview here coming up in a couple of minutes.
Okay,
so keep this segment
JR,
short.
you texted me you needed to be out at 12:10, right? So we'll talk to you next week, I guess.
If not sooner. Yeah, I just put a lineup on the YouTube. Hey, BK, I got to keep this segment short if you don't mind.
Appreciate you listening or watching on YouTube, JR.
So, JR, since you're going to treat it this way, what'd you think of the preseason game last night, buddy? You enjoy that one?
Let's break it down,
A lot of
period
big
by period.
takeaways?
Yeah, well, here's my long breakdown. They made a game of it there at the end. That's all I got. So
all right.
Send it to
JR, thanks for the insight, buddy.
I'll give you my real question coming off of that one. Jakub Vrana, can he be a 30-goal scorer this year for the Blues?
How about this guy? I really think that he can be. When you combine what he has speed-wise, and outside of Jordan Kyrou, he's got the best wheels on the team. And then when you put together that quick shot that he's got, that quick release, I just think he can be that guy. And he was a goal scorer in Washington. Obviously, things didn't go the way he or anybody wanted in Detroit, but now he's got this second chance here in St. Louis. He's going to have the ability to play in this top 6, top 9, and he's going to play with some good teammates. So, I think what we've seen from Vrana since he's got here is not some sort of illusion. This is a guy he can be.
I know it's been only 2 games, JR, but Kevin Hayes, Sammy Blais, and Jakub Vrana, they look like a line that's in middle season form in terms of puck possession for Kevin Hayes, the shooting ability for Vrana, and the space creation from Sammy Blais. Is that a line in your mind that is already set in stone?
Yeah, I think so. Obviously things can change. I would not have gone into the year thinking that Blais would be on that line. We were trying to pencil him maybe on the second line. If not, he was going to play fourth line. But I did pencil in Vrana next to Kevin Hayes. And, guys, where that came from is when we were in Nashville for the draft, Alex, you were down there, Tanner, you were down there. We got the chance to interview Kevin Hayes, and we said, who do you like to play with? What type of player best suits you? And he said a shoot-first guy. And if Jakub Vrana isn't that guy, I don't know who is. So they've had great success. I think, it's a line where you got different types of players. And I think it's come together really well in this preseason.
JR, the big question that we've got in terms of the defensive core is who's going to make the roster this year. Like it's less about the overall play because that remains to be seen, right? We'll see what they look like once we get into the regular season. But who are the 8 defensemen if they end up carrying those guys? As of today, who do you think is the odd man out of that group?
Yeah, and I'll get to that answer for sure. Sorry to interrupt you there. But, I fought with this yesterday when I was writing the story that's up at The Athletic now. And here's the number one reason. Over the years, I've had to analyze position battles and try to say, okay, who's going to make the team? And you're always going to have like a contract guy or a guy who maybe he's on the outs or, maybe you've got a certain style of player. But with this group of 8 or 9 defensemen, you just have so many different elements into play here. And we're talking about a situation where you've got a couple PK guys in Bortuzzo and Scandella. Look, I get it that they were part of the team last year, albeit 20 games for Scandella, and the PK was not good. So people are saying, well, then why should they be a part of it? Well, if not them, then who else? Are you putting Scott Prnovich out there on the PK? Like, who's playing the PK? Then you have guys who have to go through waivers who you don't want to lose, like a Scott Prnovich, like a Tyler Tucker. And then, oh, by the way, you have a Kylie Rosen who outside of maybe Justin Falk was the best defenseman on the team last year in a limited number of games, just under 50 games. And so how do you say that you're going to put him through waivers and send him to Springfield when he was better, one of your better guys? So all that is a long-winded way of getting down to, I think the odd guy out has to be, because of the situation the Blues are in, contracts, retool, so on and so forth, Scandella or Rosen. And if you put one of those guys on waivers, is Scandella going to get claimed with that 3.275? Probably not. And if you put Rosen on there, is he going to get claimed? He probably could. So it's a very tough decision for the Blues.
Does it seem like, though, JR, if Perunovic is on this team, which I'm under the assumption that he will be because of the waiver situation, that he can continue his growth? Because if you're talking about a healthy scratch, or if you're talking about playing on the third pair and not getting power play time, where is Scott Perunovic's growth coming from?
Yeah, I think if you're going to have some faith in him, continue to have some faith in him, which I think they should do, then you're probably going to, if everybody's healthy, Alex, play him in that third pair with Bortuzzo. Even though he was on the third power play unit the other day, maybe you play him on that second power play unit. You're probably going to play him ahead of Justin Falk. Look, if you're going to play the guy, he's got to be used to his strong suit, and that's definitely what it is. And then you're going to have to see, how does he play in that third pair with Robert Bortuzzo? Obviously, it was kind of a hiccup for everybody that start last night, but I think Perunovic had some good moments, and he's had some good moments in this preseason. But then it begs the question, what about a Tyler Tucker who you're trying to get games to, or what about if you keep a Rosen, where you put him? I think that within the organization, they've got to have that depth chart who they want playing games, and to me, Scott Perunovic right now has to be one of those guys.
All right, JR, final question. We'll get you out of here on this one. Kerry Davis is over here just waiting for the next round.
We're going to have an audience by the end of this show.
I'm driving up. I'll be there in 15 minutes.
I'll let you turn the button on, JR.
So earlier today, I was reading over at ESPN.com. They've got their goalie tandem rankings. They have the Blues coming in at number 26, and they've got Binnington and Hofer listed as the pairing, as we all kind of expect going into the year. However, do you think that is going to be the goalie tandem going into the year, or is there still a little bit of a competition that's taking place in your mind?
I wrote that there's competition the other day at The Athletic, and the reason I did that is because Subban's played well, and also you have Zarenko, who I think has a ton of talent. But when it comes down to it, is there really a competition for this roster spot? I would be shocked if Joel Hofer wasn't the backup on opening night. I think he'll be that way because he's the guy they see making that jump, and also because he's got the one-way contract. And so I think that's going to be the situation with him. In terms of the ranking, 26 for Binnington and Hofer, I'd put them a little higher. I think Binnington, I said it last year, that the defense in front of him was just not good. You can talk about the goals that he did let in when he did have a chance to make the stop, and I get it. But I just think that the defense this year, the work they've put into protecting the slot area, is going to be better. And Hofer, maybe that's what brings the rating down just a little bit for ESPN, and I guess that's Wyshynski who put that together because Hofer's a rookie and an unknown. So, is Binnington going to be a 925 and Vezina finalist? Doubtful, but as Doug Armstrong said the other day, I believe it. If the Blues get their house in order defensively, I think we'll see better numbers from Jordan Binnington.
All right, JR, I've got stuff to do. Thanks for on with
JR,
us
you want
today,
to stay
buddy.
on and just try and coax them through this, buddy?
Hey, listen, I'm watching the YouTube, and I'm getting ready to hit unmute.
Oh, baby. All right, JR.
See you
Appreciate
soon,
it,
buddy.
buddy.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, see you, boys.
See you, man.
It's Jeremy Rutherford.
Go on, Kerry. You can
Blues
come in.
Insider.
Stand next to the mic, my man.
The
Oh,
Athletic.
Stoltz is here, too.
Stoltz!
Come on here.
Having
It's a
good
party.
fun. How are you? You got your legs up? What's going on?
It's
Well, this is how labor works, right?
It's uncomfortable.
If you're just getting
Stoltz,
into your
jump on
car,
in
I'm
here.
serving my punishment. I'll do the quick spiel real quick. I lost our Pick'em Challenge because that's what I do. And now I'm being punished by feeling what it feels like to be in labor for your child.
He's at level 3 right now, guys, and it's been painful.
We need to stick with this for a while.
You lose a lot of these. I never see them doing anything strange.
No.
Tanner had a couple.
Yeah, I remember
grabbed the
Mile
beer
last
run.
year.
He was the
Yeah.
one that vomited. I did
Okay.
coffee with mayonnaise, but BK had like 9 of the punishments
Carry
last
on.
year.
You're not wrong.
Okay, I thought maybe I was seeing things.
As somebody that's experiencing the punishments.
What did you tell Stoltz yesterday? Like, if you were to fade you, you'd be hitting on like a 90%.
70% clip.
I mean, that's
Do you
like
know
the
how hard
pro
it
betters.
is to Stoltz just over there seeing the money side. It's like,
Stoltz is like fade BK.
picks? What day? Thursday,
Friday.
Friday. Tune in for the 3 games that you should put into a parlay that are opposite of
right,
whatever
man.
it is that I take.
You guys
I would
ready?
do them individually, though. I typically go 1 and 2.
You guys ready for this?
Kind of my thing. All right, hold on.
Tell me when you're
I'm
ready.
gonna get my stopwatch going.
This is the best day of work ever.
I know. This is.
I'm gonna disagree. I'm exhausted.
I've never had more fun at work.
Genuinely exhausted.
Well, you're about to get more exhausted. Level 4. You ready, buddy?
No, 3.
We agree. Just on 3.
Okay.
Ready? Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Oh, that's 4, isn't it?
Nope, that's 3. Okay, we're at 10. We're at 10. We're at 10. We're at 10.
That is hilarious. And you got to do this how many more times?
7 more times.
Oh,
7 more times.
best of luck to you.
7.
This is brutal.
He agreed to it. Stoltz, which one would you prefer, this one or have a prostate exam live on the radio?
I do the prostate.
No.
I'll do the prostate exam.
Live on the... Nah.
Is it still going?
No, it's off.
Look at this guy. Did you hear him?
It's still going.
Look, he's red. He's red.
Deep breaths.
Oh.
You got to breathe deeply.
Well, you made it through another one, buddy.
Somebody that says 636. Marsh actually brought Staltzer some Depends. Maybe he'll lend BK one. I've got him in the office if you need it.
Bring one down
Yeah.
because when we get to the 1 o'clock hour, BK might not make it through. Coming up next, college football season. Is it better with 12 teams? We'll discuss on 101 ESPN. Alongside BK and Tanner Hendrickson, I'm Alex Ferrario. I'm giving my guy a little bit of time to breathe. This has been a brutal punishment, but we'll keep it going in the end of this segment and then all the way through to the end of the show.
Keep her going.
Wait, right?
What's that?
It's halfway.
After the next one.
After the next one, yeah, you got 7 more. And then 6, and then 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Head over to our YouTube page at 101 ESPN STL. It's sponsored by Air Alliance Team. I've got so many text messages from family and friends saying this is amazing. Maybe we should carry this over to the next month of punishments with our Pick'em Challenge. We'll do those on Friday. College football, NFL. Let's stick with college football, though, BK, because as we are seeing, there is not a clear-cut favorite in this college football field.
You don't think so, huh?
No, I don't think so. Georgia's not it. Michigan's probably not it, although they look great. Texas, they look great, not it. This is the year for me that the 12-team playoff run should be instigated, because this is as wide open as you can ask for in terms of who gets into the top 4. We're already seeing people argue of who the top 4, if the playoffs were to start today, are. This is the year of 12 teams where you get those battles of teams that you wouldn't expect to come up with a victory.
I disagree.
And Tanner right there, just Buzz Killington once again.
I actually think this is the perfect year for the 4-team playoff. Because I think the reason for the 12-team playoff expansion, won money, but I do like the 12-team playoff because I do like that they're going to put a non-power 4 team into the playoff, which I love. That's why I loved when Cincinnati got in 2 years ago. I think the way that was set up, though, was because you allowed the non-power 5 to get in. And typically most years into playoff, you have 3, truly dominant teams that belong. And then there's kind of that 4th spot where there are, 6, 7 teams battling for it. And that's where I say, okay, that would be the year that I would love the 12-team playoff. This year, because you said it, and I think you said it perfectly, there's not one team that I feel is a lock for the college football playoff. Not one. And with that being said, I love the chaos that we're going to see this year. And that's why I think the 14 playoff is perfect for this year. I'm typically pro, let's go to 12 teams. This year feels like the perfect year for 4 because the top 4 now, Georgia, Michigan, Texas, Ohio State, there's an argument for all 4 of those teams not to make the playoff this year. And that's what I love about it is it's going to be chaotic. It's going to be, I don't want to say controversial, but it's going to be a long conversation if we get to the end of the year and there are a multitude of teams that are undefeated. I like this 14 playoff best for this season.
So I was with Alex today before I heard T-Bone's argument. And T-Bone swayed me. I got to be honest. I actually agree with T-Bone after hearing what he had to say about why he thinks a 14 playoff for this specific scenario is the best.
Well, you're an idiot. You're an absolute complete idiot.
It's true. It all comes down to what you think, what kind of meaning, what kind of importance you place on the regular season versus the playoffs. Because the playoff would be more enjoyable this year with 12. Because this would be like the Major League Baseball playoffs this year where you have no idea what's coming. And that's really compelling. There's a lot of theater that is surrounded by that. But the regular season is also really fun in college football. And going into this upcoming weekend, there's a potential elimination game that is taking place with Texas and Oklahoma. Texas, if they win this game, has a real chance to go undefeated the rest of the year and make it into the college football playoff. This is the game for them. However, if they lose, they will then go into the college football playoff, potentially, the rankings at least, with one really significant win this year, and that was against Alabama. And I don't know how good Alabama is right now. So by the end of the year, instead of that being against a top 10 opponent, that might be more of a top 15 type of a win. Does a one-loss Texas team with one significant top 20 win get into the college football playoff? I think you can make a pretty strong argument. The answer to that question is no. I would say you probably end up getting 2 Pac-12 teams over that Texas team. So the regular season is a bit devalued by the 12-team playoff in a season like this. That changes when you've got some dominant teams at the top and you know who's going to get into the 4-team playoff. But for this specific season, I actually do think that I'm with you, T-Bone. It places more importance on games like Texas versus Oklahoma or another game, Louisville versus Notre Dame. Those games are potentially for a play into the tournament.
And this year, I feel like whatever the 14 playoff ends up settling out to be, I think you're going to see 4 true competitive games, and then the championship game will be competitive. Most years, last year was a bit different. Last year, those games were competitive until the championship game.
Until I thought TCU was going to be good.
Most years, your 1 and 2 just blow away the 3 and 4. And I don't think that's going to be the case this year. And when it is that scenario where there is just 2 just dominant teams, you know their paths are going to collide at the championship game, why not add more intrigue by having a 12-team playoff? This year, it would be exciting. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to tell you 12-team playoff, God, that'd be boring. No, that's not the case. It would be a fun playoff this year. But again, it does take away from the regular season because you're right. I think Texas loses this weekend, they're done. I think Notre Dame's already done with their one loss. They don't have a conference
They're
game.
at 40-1 to win the college football playoff, by the way.
Notre Dame is?
40-1 right now. So that is to your point. Like, Vegas agrees with you that they're basically done already.
And for Notre Dame, it's all because they just don't have a conference championship game. One loss, you can potentially make it into the playoff with one loss, but you got to win your conference. You got to win your conference championship game. Notre Dame can't do that. So Notre Dame is essentially done. And some would say, well, what are they playing for? Well, there's still a lot to play for. They can go to a high bowl game, and that's important for Notre Dame. But I just think a 14 playoff this year, I've heard a lot of people saying, you weren't the first one to bring this up in the office. A lot of people would say, oh, the 12-team playoff, wouldn't this be great? No, let's enjoy what we've got, and let's enjoy the regular season because next year this time, it's not going to be the same where it is, oh, man, Texas lost. That could knock out their playoff hope. It'll be, okay, they lost. They still got, they can lose 2 more games and still potentially be fine.
And it will still be fun. I will still love the 12-team playoff because once you get to it, it will be better than what we currently have available to us. It just changes the importance. Instead of having that importance on the Red River rivalry going into this weekend, it will be on Texas versus Oregon in January. Like that'll be what differentiates the future college football versus what we're currently watching. Guys, I'm going to give you some of the odds currently in Vegas on teams to win the college football playoff, right? The national championship. These are all the teams that are below 25-1. There are 9 of them currently. Georgia at 3-1. Michigan is 4-1. Texas and Ohio State are both next at plus 750, so 7.5-1. Then you've got Florida State at 9.5-1. Penn State at 11-1. And at 15-1, you have USC, Washington, and Oregon. If you had to place a bet today on one team to win the college football playoff, who would you guys be going with? Take into account what the odds are, so you're trying to make the most money possible while also placing a bet that you think has a chance to be a real winner for you.
I mean, mine would be Michigan or Texas. I think those two teams, and I know the odds are less in terms of what you're bringing in, but I just think those two teams, I'm going to try and win my money. Those two teams seem to be the clear-cut favorites right now in college football.
I think I would go with Texas. I think they would be the one for me because I think with Quinn Ewers, they've got the quarterback that can get them to the promised land. And they're the one team that I feel like, I said nobody's a lock right now. I think they win this weekend against Oklahoma. If they play the way they should the rest of the way, their schedule really softens up at the end. So if they can beat Oklahoma, which I think they will this week, then I think they're a team that's a lock for the playoff, and I think they can win the potential college football playoff this year.
Whoever you think wins next week between Washington or Oregon, I think is the best bet. Oregon is off this week. I think those are the 2 best teams in the Pac-12. I personally would place my bet on Oregon, and the reason why is just because I think they are the most complete team in the Pac-12 currently. I think Washington has a better offense than Oregon does. I worry a little bit about Washington's defense after seeing them the last 2 weeks against Cal and Arizona. Those 2 offense putting up 30 and 24 points respectively makes me wonder what it's going to look like when they go up against USC or Oregon State or Washington State or Oregon going up in a couple of weeks. So I would probably put my money down on Oregon at 16-1. I just think those odds are way too long. That is the team for me that I would go with. I would take somebody from the Pac-12 because I think it's the best conference. They've got the best quarterbacks. They've got good coaching. And the 2 teams that I would be looking at are Washington and Oregon, and I think I would ultimately land on Oregon as my team to place the bet on. Yep. Who do you guys think is the team that's in the top 8 or 9 right now that you don't expect to see in the college football playoff? Who's the one that you're fading completely right now?
I mean, mine's Georgia. I just don't know if Georgia's going to be in the top 4 in terms of playoff teams. I mean, right now, Texas, Michigan, one of those Pac-12 teams are going to be there. And I'm really wondering if Georgia loses a couple more games.
I think they lose this week.
Yeah.
Do they got this week Kentucky, right?
I wonder if Mizzou gives them a run for their money.
I think they could, but
let's calm down.
Whoa.
I really do think they could.
I do too.
And I
that
think
offense stinks with Georgia. It stinks.
Think Kentucky is the exact type of team that can give them trouble because they are one of the best run defenses in the country.
Yeah.
We all know what does Georgia wants to do. They want to be a run-first team. The problem is they haven't been particularly good at it this year. And so instead, they're having to lean on Beck, and he's basically just throwing exclusively to Brock Bowers this year, which is a smart way to go about it. Brock Bowers is amazing.
I do it too.
But Kentucky has some really versatile and athletic defenders, and if they're able to slow Bowers down, not stop him, nobody can, but slow him down, I think there's a real chance Kentucky wins this one like 27-23, something like that.
So I like the Georgia pick. I would also throw Ohio State into this mix. I don't think Kyle McCord's a good quarterback. I really don't. He's the difference maker. They've got a ton of weapons.
I think they got lucky against Notre Dame.
I agree. I thought Notre Dame laid a complete egg. As much as everybody says Ohio State won that game, I think Notre Dame laid an egg. I mean, hell, they played with 10 guys on the final 2 plays.
They don't convert if they're the other guys out there.
I don't think Ohio State, they're higher than Penn State right now in the rankings. I think they lose to Penn State, and they will probably lose to Michigan. And I think there's a chance they could. Their schedule's kind of soft. They've got Maryland this week. Don't be shocked if Maryland gives them a game. Maryland's played pretty well early on this year. I would say Ohio State's the other team that I would put in the same conversation as Georgia.
USC's got no chance.
I'd agree with
No
that, too.
chance whatsoever. Notre Dame,
It's got
Utah,
Caleb
Washington,
Williams.
and Oregon all coming up the rest of the way. Man, if you're giving up 41 to that Colorado offense, which is good, but they were without their best player in Travis Hunter. This defense is terrible, man. They gave up 28 to San Jose State, 28 to Arizona State, and then 41 last week to Colorado. When they get into the meat of this Pac-12 conference slate, they're going to be giving up 40 a week. And I love Caleb Williams. I think he's got a real shot to be able to go back-to-back as a Heisman Trophy winner. I don't think that defense is good enough to be able to get them to the college football playoff. Not in this version of the Pac-12. A couple of years ago, this exact USC team could have won the Pac-12 and then go to the college football playoff. This year, I don't think they've got any chance to do so. They're the team that I'm fading the most right now. I think they're a really good team. They just don't have the defense to be able to get the job done.
I like it. You know what I also like?
I did eat a little something in the last break.
Yeah.
It made me feel better. I was getting a
Whoa.
little lightheaded after the last break.
Oh, well.
Don't worry.
Little lightheaded.
Yeah, he's
lightheaded.
CPR certified.
yeah.
It's just his not name on there.
Yeah.
So he's not really CPR
I'm your
certified.
medical professional for
Tan
today.
E. Hendrickson
If you're new to
is.
this, if you're just tuning in, our 12 o'clock hour is the highest rated hour that we do here on this show. So you may be new. I'm serving my punishments today. Alex.
Maybe new. Welcome.
Yeah. Alex is in charge of it. He's taking care of the machine that is sending the contractions by way of my stomach. I am shocked by how much this...
You are shocked.
Yeah. I'm shocked by how exhausting this is.
What do you think labor is?
I couldn't believe
You're
it,
not
dude.
even 2 centimeters dilated.
Oh, well, we're getting there.
Congrats, man.
Only 53 hours to go.
You're gonna have
So
a
we do
baby
this at the end of every
145.
segment. You guys can watch us on YouTube at 101 ESPN STL. If you want to go back and just rewatch all of the punishments after the show today, you could do that. The podcast page is presented by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers, and our YouTube channel studio cams are brought to you by Air Alliance Team.
You ready,
So we're
buddy?
doing this at the end of every segment. We've got 7 more today. After this one, I will officially be halfway through
Almost
my
there.
punishment. I'm exhausted. I can't believe this is only halfway. All right, you
You're
ready?
gonna have a baby soon. Ready? All right, I'm gonna give you a countdown. I'm gonna turn it on, and then I'm gonna put it up to what are we at? Level 4?
I think
Yeah.
3. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Ready?
Yep.
1,
No. To be honest.
3. Okay. It should be on. Do you feel it?
Not yet. I'll let you know. Okay, yeah, I can feel it.
Okay. There you go. That's 4.
The right side
Okay.
is really good.
Okay. Oh, right side's an 8. Oh, I can't see the clock. Are we at 10?
we're at
We're at
15.
20. All
We're at
right.
15.
Congrats, buddy. You made it through 4. Here comes 5. Coming up next, BK did some deep dive into
Oh, I
reverse
gotta do that
engineering.
next.
Oh, yeah, we got to
I'll
reverse.
tell you how the Cardinals can get their
There it
pitching
is.
back on track
Oh, good.
next.
Tanner Henderson, USA Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The MLB playoffs start today as the first game will start at 2 o'clock between the Texas Rangers and the Tampa Bay Rays. 3:30 Blue Jays, Twins. 6 o'clock Diamondbacks versus Brewers. And then here on 101 ESPN, we've got game one between the Miami Marlins and the Philadelphia Phillies. We'll have pregame coverage tonight starting at 6:30. And make sure you watch us on YouTube today at 101 ESPN STL as BK will serve as punishment at the end of each segment today. The Sports Center update is driven by Johnny Londoff. Find your road shop 24/7 at Londoff.com, LondoffAutoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
With Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. You've got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. All right, so I want to reverse engineer something. I was looking into this last night, did a bunch of research into the rotations that are currently playing in this year's postseason. Now, I included some of the injured players, the guys that aren't actually going to be a part of the rotation. So, for example, with Texas, I'm including Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer in this regard. For the Milwaukee Brewers, I'm including Brandon Woodruff. And the reason why I'm doing that is because that was what these teams planned to go into the season with, and then they're adjusting on the fly accordingly, right? They needed the depth in their rotation to be able to get to the postseason, and now they're trying to lean on that depth to get through the postseason. So that's why I decided to go about it that way. I went through and looked at every single rotation that currently exists in the playoffs to find out how did they acquire their starters. Did they draft them? Did they trade for them? Did they get them in international free agency, so amateur free agency? Did they go about it in international via like Japan, KBO, any of those? Did they get them via trade? What did they do to acquire their starting pitchers that are going to be starting for them this year? In the National League, Alex, let's start here. I found this to be really interesting. 18 of the pitchers that are in their team's rotations were drafted. 7 of those 18 were drafted in the first round. And the biggest team that stands out in that regard is the LA Dodgers. They don't just throw a bunch of money at their rotation. They did that with Kershaw because they kept him around. But other than that, man, it's basically a bunch of dudes that they drafted and developed and kept internally. The other thing that you see here, 8 of them were acquired via trade, and most of them were trades where they had to give up significant pieces. So we're talking about Max Fried, who was traded in the Justin Upton deal when he was still a very low-level prospect. The Luzardo trade, where he went over to Miami. They got him in the Starling Marte deal. Sandy Alcantara, who's obviously not a part of the Marlins rotation right now, but was dealt in the Ozuna deal. So it's big headliner pieces that were dealt in trades. International free agents, there are 4 of them, and one that came over from the KBO, that was Merrill Kelly, who's in the Arizona Diamondbacks rotation right now. So 18 drafted, 8 trade, 4 free agent. They've done it a little bit of every different way. My biggest takeaway from this, Alex, everybody's got something that they do well. The Marlins trade for pitchers. They're really good at finding guys that for whatever reason are undervalued from other teams. They scout them, and then they bring them into their system, and then they develop them the way that they want to. The Dodgers are really good at drafting pitchers high in the draft and then getting them to the big leagues and seeing them success at an incredible level. You've got to find what you're good at. And right now, the Cardinals do nothing well. They don't trade for them. They don't sign them. They don't draft them. They don't get them via the KBO. They do nothing particularly well when it comes to finding their starting pitching. They've got to find their area of expertise and then spam the hell out of it. If you think you're really good at scouting foreign markets, man, go over there this offseason and get Yamamoto and get Imanaga. Or get other guys that are coming over. Hell, get 3 of them that are coming over from international markets. If you think you're excellent at trading for starting pitchers, man, go trade for multiple this offseason. Whatever it is that you think you do well, go do it this offseason. That's what's succeeding right now in the National League.
Let me ask you guys this then. What do the Cardinals do well?
I don't know. Right now, nothing.
Because
I think they should get some credit on that KBO market. I know the Verhagen deal hasn't worked out, but Suguano, Miles Michaelis, a find from over there.
KK in the first year.
KK in the first year. So, I think that is where I would say, they're not great at it, but they're good at it.
And that's why I would isolate that. And as much as I love Aaron Nola, let's be honest, this Cardinals team is not good at identifying free agents that make sense. And I thought the way you were going to spin this was the Cardinals need to stay away from free agency because it never works out. And I brought up John Lester's name because I'm like, well, John Lester was 31 years old when he got signed by the Cubs and was legit Cy Young for the first 3 years. So you can. But do the Cardinals do well enough to identify that free agent pitcher? And I don't think they do. So KBO is the first direction, and that's why Yamamoto is the guy that makes the most sense. Now, I've seen reports that the Yankees are going to throw everything at him.
There's a bunch of teams that are going to be going after
The Cardinals need to throw everything at him because you do identify talent well. And the other one is the other option you can go in that one. I'm not even going to try it because I butcher it every time. Imanaga, thank you. The secondary with this is the draft. And I'm skeptical of the Cardinals in terms of drafting, but when I think of the Milwaukee Brewers, when I think of the LA Dodgers, when I think of the Atlanta Braves, you've nailed these ace pitchers in your organization from the draft.
Yep.
And you have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity this offseason to be selecting potentially first overall or at least top 5. And that, you need to nail this draft. You need to draft a starting pitcher that can become the ace for you. If you've got Tink Hence, if you've got TK Roby, all of these guys are great pieces to have in your system that could be 2s, 3s. Draft your ace. Yep. And that's something I'm very skeptical of this team.
Long-term,
Yeah.
that is
That's not next season.
Answer.
But you start at KBO, and then you identify how you can draft that proper talent, and then you fill in the blanks elsewhere. That's the perfect offseason.
The American League is very different than the National League in this regard. The National League, you look around and you're like, man, everybody's drafting their guys. Like, is that the only way to go about this? The answer is no. In the American League, you look at the front end guys and their rotations, most of them were either traded for or signed via free agency. With Baltimore, traded for Bradish. Tampa Bay, traded for Glasnow. Toronto got Gossman via free agency. Minnesota, Lopez via trade, and they also got Sonny Gray via trade as well. Houston, traded for Verlander and then signed Valdez via the international free agent market. By the way, Houston, that's what they do. They spam the hell out of the international free agent market, the amateur market.
Yeah.
They go down there, they find their guys that they want, they get them when they're like 16 years old, and then develop them for the next 5 years, and they become studs once they get to the big league level.
I don't trust the Cardinals on that aspect of it.
They have not done well in that regard. They need to be much better doing that. Texas, free agency. They went out and they got Evaldi. They went out and they got Heaney. They went out and they got DeGrom. They went out and they traded for Scherzer. They traded for Montgomery. Most of the American League starting pitchers, they're coming via trade. They're coming via free agency. That's how they're going about it. So there's the old way to say, right, there's a million different ways to skin a cat. There's a lot of different ways to create your rotation. But the one common element for every single one of these teams that has made it to the postseason, they've got something that they can lean on where they say, we're really good at this. This is the way that we acquire our players in this specific area of our team. And we just keep doing it. We throw resources at it. We keep going at it. And we don't wait to see, hey, we've got 3 guys or 2 guys that are really good from this area. No, keep throwing resources at it, man. Houston didn't stop when they got 1 international free agent into their rotation. They've got 4 of them right now. The Texas Rangers didn't stop with 1 free agent pitcher. They've got 4 of those dudes in that rotation. Baltimore didn't stop when they got 1 trade for a pitcher. No, they got 3 of them. Same thing for Tampa Bay. 4 dudes, actually, that were traded for in their rotation. Go find what you do well and then do it a ton this offseason.
And speaking of trades, I thought you were going this way when you mentioned Lester's name. I think the Cardinals are decent at evaluating talent in terms of what they're going to trade for. Look at what they've done in season. And I understand that's a different conversation than it is in the offseason. But acquiring a Jose Quintana, who pitched game 1 of the wild card series for them, and the whole fan base wanted him back, and they ended up letting him walk to go to the Mets.
Can we be honest about the trades, too? Other than the trade, the Randy Arozarena for Matthew Liberatore trade, what's the one that you look back on and you're like, you failed? You failed spectacularly.
And that's what I was going to mention.
Definitely. But they swung big, man. I do not blame them for that deal.
Hayward?
I don't think that they missed on that one.
I don't think you missed in terms of the pieces you traded away. Well, but what I mean is I think you missed on identifying the talent that was going to be a part of your...
was exactly what they needed, and it happened because of a tragic accident.
But you made that trade hoping he was going to be a core piece of your team, and he wasn't.
He decided to walk.
Yeah, but I don't even think even if he was willing to stay, he would have been a core piece of your team.
I agree because he wasn't good enough.
He wasn't the bat for you.
I think Jason Hayward was a really good player that ended up the bat just never became what everybody thought it was going to be. You weren't the only one that bet big on him. There were a bunch of teams across Major League Baseball that believed he was going to be something that he ultimately was not.
Yeah.
I think the Cardinals are okay at trading.
Yeah.
I think they missed big time on one of the pitchers that they really wanted to go out there and acquire, and they messed up by missing on their evaluation of Randy Arozarena. The other deals that we always reference, guys, it's not big-time players that they gave away. It's really not. And most of them, we reference the guys that they traded away without referencing anything about what they ended up getting in return. Luke Voigt, man, you got Giovanni Gallegos. Like, that was a good deal for the Cardinals.
And Chasen Shreve.
Sure. I think you make a really good point there, T-Bone,
and that's what
them being able to go out there and find guys that fit what they need, and they're able to get the best out of them here in St. Louis more often than not.
And that's what I was going to say, too, because, like, they've been able to identify the guys that they need. Quintana, Montgomery, doing those deals at the deadline. Can they do that in the offseason? And I think they've become too scared of the Rosarina deal, and that's what I was going to get to. I think they scared themselves out of a lot of deals because of that, which I can understand to a certain extent, but as we've seen it recently, you've had success in identifying what you need. And I understand, like, the J-Hab, John Lester trades, like, those weren't, like, big, sexy names that were brought in, but they were exactly what you needed at that time, and both those deals ended up working out. So that's why, like, I don't have any concerns about them trading for bullpen arms, because I honestly forgot about the Voigt deal to get Giovanni Gallegos. That's why when we look at this offseason, what are the two markets they probably should say, this is what we should attack? It probably should be the international market in terms of going to the KBO and getting guys. That's short term. And also looking for a trade probably, because that has been where they've done a nice job. Free agency, there's no – Mo can say anything about track record. Well, his track record shows you that his free agent signings have been terrible.
Stay the bleep away from free agent bullpen arms. Just stay the hell away from it.
And can we be honest about the rotation, guys? Man, as I look across the rotations that are currently playing in the postseason, these are not made by big-time free agent pitching acquisitions. Kevin Gossman got $110 million. He is the second biggest contract among these pitchers that are currently available. Now, Jacob deGrom is technically part of this, but he's obviously not a part of the Texas Rangers rotation right now because he's always hurt. Gossman and Wheeler are the only two pitchers that will be participating in this year's postseason, from what I can tell, that make more than $100 million. In fact, they're the only ones that are making more than $75 million guaranteed on their current deal. After them, it's Taijuan Walker at $72 million, which is basically what you're giving to Miles Michaelis. It's Chris Bassett at $63 million, which is probably pretty similar to what you have to give to Sonny Gray going into this offseason. And then it's like Nathan Eovaldi at 34 and John Gray at 4 years and 56. It's the mid-tier pitchers that are ending up helping these teams via free agency. I do think that's something to keep in the back of your mind going into this offseason. Maybe you go over to the KBO, you get one of those guys, or you go over to Japan, you get one of those guys, and then you get one of these mid-tier starters, kind of like a Sonny Gray, and you add in some back-end pieces, maybe via trade, and that's the way you go about this. You find the things that you do well, you attack that mid-tier free agency market the way that a lot of these other teams have successfully in free agency, and you make it work that way. Can I get on my soapbox for one moment? And then we'll get to the fun part of things.
Fine.
I don't know.
The YouTube is ready.
I know.
I'm ready.
I know everybody is.
Let's go, girls.
We have had multiple texts, and I understand why people are sending this in. I really do. That say something to the effect of, guys, yesterday Trevor Bauer was cleared. The Cardinals should go out and sign him. I felt like I was missing something yesterday when I saw all of the headlines with this. Trevor Bauer was not cleared. He had one case that was resolved. There are 3 other cases that are pending, including one that is expected to go to trial at some point in 2024. While Trevor Bauer went out and did his victory lap yesterday, and I know there's going to be a bunch of people on their text line that love themselves some Trevor Bauer that will come after me because of what I'm saying here. That's fine. I'm more than happy with that. He is not a guy that the Cardinals will or should go after. He's not a guy that anybody in Major League Baseball is going to go after this offseason. What happened yesterday, Alex, we were talking about this before the show. Legitimately crazy story. Mm-hmm. And none of us know what happened in that scenario. None of us know what happened with any of these cases that are against Trevor Bauer. But when there are 4 cases that are stacked up against one player, yes, that is going to weigh heavily in the minds of evaluators across the league, and it should weigh heavily in the minds of evaluators across the league. So, no, to answer the question, I do not believe that the Cardinals will or should acquire Trevor Bauer this offseason, and this will be the one and only time that we will bring up his name, because we're not going to be answering any more questions about him, because he will not be somebody that is on the Cardinals wish list going into the offseason. All right, let's have some fun.
Oh, please. Tell me.
I'm serving my punishment this week for being the worst in our Pick'em Challenge in the first month of the season.
Well, it's not just this week, but yes, this punishment.
My punishment is to feel what it's like, to go through labor.
How do you think you've handled it thus far?
I scale of 1 to 10, 4. I'd say 4.
Well,
Yeah,
Kara,
feels about right.
Kara told you you're not getting a nap when you get home. But speaking of 4, that's the next level you're on.
No. We're at 3. We're at 3. 1 o'clock hours 4.
4.
1 o'clock hours for 8. Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, I'll get them. All right.
4, by the way, is the highest that the doctors recommend you go to.
No, just the pamphlet, the directions recommended. I didn't talk to an actual doctor.
All right, here we go.
Ready?
You ready?
All right, I'm turning it on.
Okay.
All right, you ready?
I'll let you know when I'm
Let's
ready.
See if I can double finger this. 3, 2.
The doctor on the text line told me to breathe.
Yeah.
Yeah, well. You didn't listen to the doctor. You were supposed to breathe there. Why didn't you breathe, man? Listen to him breathing now. You sound like what you sounded like trying to keep up with fake Joe Vitale on the marathon that you ran.
Juncture is nice. All right, let's dive into the junk drawer. Alex, what do you got for us today?
All right, buddy, I'm going to give you a little bit of a breather here because I got a great story, and I brought up ridiculous lawsuits in the past on the air that you guys, some have pushed back on, some you've made sense. But there's one that came out yesterday that I don't know how you can side with this individual. So a female is seeking $50,000 in damages for injuries sustained while riding down a 5-story water slide. And the injuries that she sustained is because she had too extreme of a wedgie after her water slide incident.
I think that's fair. I think you should be able to sue for that.
No. God, no.
I don't like it when my swimsuit rides up on me.
Well, then don't go down a water slide.
You know what's going to be great? Because of this lawsuit, they're going to have to put a sign up there
that you can't,
somewhere that says, due to extreme wedgie potential, you must go and be aware of the extreme wedgie potential.
And that's the part of the junk drawer. You and I have worked together way too long. That's the part of the junk drawer that I was going to bring up. I always laugh when you see certain warning signs on things, or
Coffee
like caution, coffee hot, or have you ever seen like on a bag of chips, it says image of chips on bag does not represent size of actual potato chip. They had to put that because somebody called and complained that my potato chip is not as big as you said on the front of the bag.
Yeah, and I agree with that, too.
And somebody is going to ride down a wall. Give me the damn thing. I'm going to shock you right now.
You have way too much power in your hands.
Open up your damn mouth on that one.
I'm certainly going to agree with everything that Alex says the rest of the day.
I just don't understand how you can sue a water park for saying you gave me too intense of a wedgie. Well, you shouldn't have been wearing the thong-like swimsuit that you wore going down the slide.
Fair. Somebody said on the text line that she apparently got internal organ damage.
How freaking big of a wedgie did you get?
Hey, man, if you get internal organ damage from a wedgie, you deserve to be sued.
You probably couldn't get that. Well, no, you don't. No, you don't. Don't go down the water slide because the swimsuit that you wore prior to the water slide was probably already giving you internal organ damage. And then you go down a slide.
No way to know that. Just like the rental service that I used for my place that I stayed at
don't put soaps down the toilet.
In Nashville, they don't know if we did or didn't put the soap down the toilet, and I still don't know if we have to pay the money.
The lawsuit that's
nice.
The lawsuit
a month later.
That's amazing that's still happening. The lawsuit that still gets me to this day is one of my favorite comedians did it in a stand-up skit. It was in Georgia. A woman sued a haunted house because it scared her too much.
That seems real. I get that.
Give me the damn thing. Get up on your get up on the seat.
Hold on. Can we agree that I was just kidding?
No, you need to apologize.
Level 4. Level 4.
Someone said, Alex, I love a front wedgie. That's just a banana hammock. All right, you're going to get level 6 for that tone that you used on me.
Funny is, every time I see us get ready to do this, I can see Ryder stop what he's doing. And
don't blame him.
I'm still surprised more people have not walked by and stopped to see what we were doing.
We've got 5 more to go today.
Woohoo!
Well, 4 more after this, buddy.
Yeah.
We got 5 more of these, so I'm being punished. If you're tuning in right now on YouTube, hello, my name is Brandon Kiley. I went to college for this. I'm still paying back student loans for this specific reason. I started back up this month, in fact.
Hi, I'm Brandon Kiley. Welcome to Jackass.
I suck at making picks, and therefore I'm on YouTube right now. 101 ESPN STL is where you can go to find us. The cams are presented by Air Alliance Team. And I am using this machine that Alex is holding right now to feel what it is like to go through contractions during labor, during childbirth.
Somebody believes you're just acting through all of these, and it's not actually hurting. I
promise you, I couldn't act this well. So no, that is not actually.
All right, my man. You ready?
Okay, hold on.
Get your clock ready.
Get my clock ready.
Clock ready.
Yeah. Okay, are you ready, Alex? I've got my
ready when
clock
you are.
ready. Every single time I do this, it's just so exhausting.
What do you think your wife went through, man? Remember to breathe this time, okay? Try not to scream
this for
and breathe.
3 days.
Try not to scream and breathe. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1.
What's happening?
I'll let you know when it hits. Don't go too high, buddy.
Okay. You should be feeling it right now. Oh, hold on. I'm getting a beeping noise. What's that mean?
Uh-oh, we broke it.
Alex.
Yeah, buddy.
Screw this up, buddy.
I got it set at 0.
Don't do too high.
Hold on. I think we might have broke the machine.
Did you?
I think so.
Oh,
we need to go to break?
Yeah, we'll just have to do 2 in the next segment. I think we might have broke the machine.
We can do 1 on YouTube after, or Facebook Live after the show. If we need to.
Yeah, send it to break. We're going to skip this one. We'll get the other one in. I promise we might have broken the machine.
I want it to be known. I didn't do this. What's the ceiling for the Blues' top 2 centers? We'll talk about it next year on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. You've got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. We think we
got it fixed.
have
Yeah.
the machine fixed.
BK
so at
didn't
the end
want
of
to
this
leave it on.
segment, we'll go ahead and get back to what we were doing. And I think what we've decided is the last segment of the show today, it won't be 12, but we'll do a 20-second burst at the
It'll
end
be
of
12.
the show today.
He's just going longer.
So that way we get the full allotment of time that I was supposed to have.
This will be like
While
right
getting
before
punished.
the baby's coming out. Where
Exactly,
you got like
the
the
final
long
push.
push. This might be where you soil yourself.
So that'll be the final segment of the show today. Tell your friends.
Tell your family.
everybody.
Tell your mom.
YouTube.com/101ESPNSTL. You can check us out on the Air Alliance Team studio cams. All right, Alex. So let's talk a little bit more about the Blues.
Let's do it.
What's the ceiling for the top two centers on this team? Because I was reading over on The Athletic, and they put together their rankings of each team's top two centers, and they had the Blues in an area that, when I thought about it, I was like, you know what? Actually, that makes sense. They had the Blues at the below average ranking. Teams that are similar to them were the Detroit Red Wings, San Jose Sharks, the Minnesota Wild, Seattle Kraken, and the Winnipeg Jets. I think that feels right with Braden Shen and Robert Thomas. For context, like one of the duos that they have in front of them is Dylan Larkin and Andrew Kopp. Feels kind of right to me in being in somewhere in that range. But I do think by the end of the season that like some of these teams will likely fall back. Like they're more likely to fall back in the rankings than they are to go up because they're older, for example. I think the Blues are more likely to jump in the rankings than they are to fall down in the rankings. What do you think is their ceiling, though? Where can they get in a list like this?
I would say the ceiling is average. And I forgot who were those players in that realm, but one of the duos that you mentioned, I said that's exactly who they can be. I think it was with the New York
Point,
Islanders.
Anthony Cirelli?
No, it was the New York Islanders. It was Bo Horvat and Nelson.
Yep.
Because I think Robert Thomas is as good, if not better, than Bo Horvat in terms of who he potentially is. Bo Horvat's a really good center who can score goals. Robert Thomas is a passer. And I think Robert Thomas is a 100-point player, but you got to get to that level. And I believe Braden Shen is better than Nelson with the New York Islanders. Last year was just not good for Braden Shen. Now, point-wise it was, but defensively it was not. Two-way centerman, you've got to be who you were in the 2021-2022 season. That, to me, you're only taking a slight step up, but that slight step up puts you into the average conversation among the NHL, but the only way you're doing that is if Robert Thomas is a 100-point player. That's the only way you're going to get there, because to me, they're spot on with this. I think Braden Shen is a perfectly adequate second center. You're going to get 60 to 70 points with him, and you're going to get somebody who's there for you almost every single night. It all comes down to that top-line center, and that's where Robert Thomas, sorry, I'm dealing with some allergies there, and it sounded a little emotional. I apologize. Robert Thomas has got to get to that 100-point threshold. You've got to be the number one center.
I've got a different team that I would point to. Curious where you would come out on this. I think the team that I would point to is Carolina. Same area, same range of what kind of ceiling you have, but between Sebastian Aho and, attempts to pronounce this, Alex, Kotkaniemi?
Kokaniemi.
Sure. Whatever his name is. Jesperi. I think that's where the ceiling is. You look at what Jesperi was last year, 45-point player. Now, he's very young. He's still got some upside.
And he's a really good defensive centerman.
He could be a 20-goal scorer. I think that's Kevin Hayes, is what you're potentially looking at. Yep. And I think that's also part of what's tied into the Blues ceiling with their top two centers is I think your hope is by the end of the year, it's actually Robert Thomas and Kevin Hayes that are your top two centermen. And Braden Shen kind of slots in as that third-line center that fills the role of being an identity player for you. This is no shot at Braden Shen. He's my favorite player on the team. I think he's more than deserving of being the captain of this squad. But if he's your second-best center, this is where you're going to slot in, is you're going to be kind of a below-average team in that regard. If Kevin Hayes reaches the ceiling of what he was in the first 55 games of last year, that adds a big offensive punch that you didn't have from that spot a year ago.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you, and I've said it before. I think Kevin Hayes is going to be so much better than people are giving him credit for, and I do believe, frankly, when he was acquired, I thought that Kevin Hayes was going to be viewed as the second-line center, and Braden Shen moves down to the third. But Braden Shen, for how long he's been here, and obviously now that you're wearing the captain, people are going to go to him as that second center. It doesn't matter. Either they're interchangeable with the way that they play. But Kevin Hayes, to me, is a guy who could put up 20 goals for you. He's a guy that could have plenty of assists if Vrana is going to be this type of player. Here's where it gets interesting. If you go beyond just ranking the top 2 centermen on teams, if you go just center depth of the 4 lines, I'd have the Blues in the upper tier with some of these other teams. Now, you're not going to be with McDavid and Draisaitl because those guys are elite, but let's just take the Colorado Avalanche, for example. Nathan McKinnon, elite player. You've got Ross Colton, our guy. You've got now the player from... Why am I blanking on his name from Nashville? Oh, Ryan Johansson is your third-line center, and we're talking Andrew Cogliano as the bottom-line center.
That's better than what you have.
I would put it close, but you've got to have Robert Thomas at his best because...
that's better than what you've got.
I think Kevin Hayes could put up numbers that Ross Colton puts up, and I believe that Braden Shen could put up numbers that Ryan Johansson puts up, and I would lean more Oscar Sundqvist than Andrew Cogliano. It all comes down to that top line.
It's just hard for me to say that like Nathan McKinnon is.
Well, that's where it's at. Robert,
I'm looking at Nathan McKinnon and I'm saying to myself, yeah, Robert Thomas becoming that feels far-fetched.
But as much as that's true, you're going to use 4 lines. In Colorado, in a tight game, goes down to 2 lines. The Blues are using 4
I don't know
lines.
if that's going to be the case for them this year, man.
I do. I really think
that they're deeper this year going into the season than they were going into
Colorado
either of the last 2 years. Yeah,
I
don't think they're a star reliance going into this year as they have been in previous years. That doesn't mean that they won't be by the end of the season. Maybe they get some injuries and that happens, but
I still think they're less than what they were the year that they won the Cup. Because
going into the year, though, because I'm talking about at this point in the season. That year that they won the Cup, they traded for their third and fourth lines at the deadline, basically.
Yeah.
Most of those guys came in at the deadline, and they acquired them then. They were just full in the top 6. This year, I think the top 6 has taken a little bit of a step back.
I'm excited for 2 of those centermen with Colorado.
Are better.
I'm excited for Ross Colton and Nathan McKinnon. I don't buy into Ryan Johansson. I think Ryan Johansson is kind of a shell of himself right now than what he was when he was at his peak with Nashville. And Andrew Cogliano, I would lean towards Oscar Sundqvist. But all of this conversation falls back to Robert Thomas. If you don't become that top centerman, you're not going to get to that level. And that's what the Blues desperately need this season. Man, time flies when you're having fun.
I know.
314.
Dude, I'm trying to podcast over here. It's hilarious hearing all the screams.
Podcast? Are you clipping them together for like the end of the show segment?
So I just push this over.
Yeah.
And then hand it over
Be careful.
to
You're gonna shock yourself.
All right. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show.
I thought our boss Tommy was going to be in there watching, but our boss Mike Ryder's in there watching, so
he's busy.
He's overseeing it all.
You guys want to
he's busy until we do
in
this.
For Bet It or Forget It, you can get that in right now on the Air Comfort Service text line.
Bet it or forget
You can
it.
also watch us on YouTube, youtube.com/101ESPN. Over there, you can see our studio cams that are powered by Air Alliance Team.
I got one for everybody. Bet it or forget it. BK complains to all of us tomorrow about how much pain he's in.
Oh, bet it. That's the easiest bet you've ever made. That is way easier than fading my picks, which is an easy thing to do.
All right, buddy. Tell me when you're ready. We're about to go to number 3.
All right.
Hopefully.
Here we go. Oh, God, I can already feel that one going. Yep, it's working. It's working. It's working.
Breathe.
Good job, buddy. You made it. That's another contraction down. That's
3 to go.
I've never heard you scream that loud before. What do we got coming up next? Oh, he said
Bet It or Forget It coming up next. Woo! Hey, it's BK, and I've got some exciting news for all the men out there. Victory Men's Health has launched a new telehealth site. It's called VictoryRx.com. Men, you can go there. You'll get prescribed your ED medication, and they have made this process so easy. You can go to the site, VictoryRx.com. That's VictoryRx.com. You'll do your entire consult all via text. What more could you ask for? Victory Men's Health has already treated thousands of men in their standalone locations, and now they're giving you easier access to that #1 selling ED medication. It's going to be a chewable tablet. It's got active ingredients that includes both Viagra and Cialis. And because it's a chewable tablet, it's not going to be affected by any of the food or the drink that you had earlier in the day. If you get the typical pill that some of these other companies are selling out there, it could be affected by the food or the drink. Not with VictoryRx.com. The chewable tablets is going to be the correct dosage for you, and it's going to work the first time around. So go to VictoryRx.com. That's VictoryRx.com and play hard.
Ooh.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for Bet It or Forget It. Guys, bet it or forget it. One of the players that is starting tomorrow will be a Cardinal by the start of next season. Some of the players that are currently announced to be starting tomorrow.
So
Zach
Sonny
Eflin,
Gray or Nola?
Jose Barrios, Sonny Gray, Zach Gallen, Braxton Garrett, and Aaron Nola.
I'll bet it. Zach Gallen will be a Cardinal after this season. I'll bet this one. I think all of the options, Nola and Gray, are going to be the two that make the most sense, and the reports are that that's who the Cardinals are pursuing, so I'm going to say bet it.
I think I'll bet it because I think they'll get one of, if not both, Gray and Nola. Gray would probably be the one I would circle first, but I
think Gray's going to be a Cardinal. And I think it'll be a really good
too.
signing if they end up going that route, by the way.
Man, if you could get
I will celebrate
Yamamoto,
that.
if you could get Yamamoto and Gray, oh, what an offseason. I will be pumped.
I'm going to add one more thing. Don't sleep on Braxton Garrett. That would be a really interesting way for the Cardinals to go about it this offseason. He is a underrated pitcher for the Miami Marlins, had a 3.6 ERA this year, does have some legit strikeout stuff as well. Braxton Garrett would be a really compelling potential candidate for the Cardinals to go out there and acquire. Basically strikes out a batter per inning, still a young player, under club control, 26 years old, lefty. That feels very Cardinals-y to me. And it's not Luzardo, so he's not at the top end of their trade charts. I could see the Cardinals going about it something like that. Maybe you end up trading like a Tommy Edman in a deal like that.
So that's going to lead to my question. I was going to say bet it or forget it. we will see one of the Cardinals' left-handed bats traded this offseason. So that's Newbark, Gorman, Burleson,
I'm gonna bet this
Donovan.
one.
Would be
I could
four
see
that I
them-
would put in there.
I could see them trading like Edman and Burleson in a deal for Braxton Garrett. Something like that.
I think it's going to be one of them, whether it's to get the starting pitcher, whether that's Gorman for like a Logan Gilbert, that train I still live on, or one or two of those left-handed bats for bullpen arms. So I'm going to bet this one. I do think you're going to see one of those guys moved.
I would bet it because Burleson feels like the guy I could see them moving. And Miami, if it is Miami and it is Braxton Garrett as the trade target, I mean, he makes all the sense in the world for them because their first baseman going into the playoffs is either Jake Berger or Josh Bell.
Yep.
So like they could use someone that could be there kind of long term, and I think Burleson would be that guy.
Yeah, I think Braxton Garrett is a really interesting player. He's pre-ARB next year. Like this guy hasn't even made it. You'd have 5 years of club control over him.
And you think he's going to get moved?
I don't know, but they need offense, and they've got so much pitching coming back next year with a lot of guys coming back from injury, like whether it's him or Edward Cabrera. I think they're going to have to move. I think they're more likely to do what we're talking about with the Mariners than the Mariners are. Like they are more likely to move some of their pitching for hitting because they're more desperate for the hitting.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, though. This guy's not a 1 or a 2. This is one of those fringe guys that you're bringing in to
go out and,
compete.
like, you sign Sonny Gray, you add Yamamoto via the international market, and then you trade for Braxton Garrett.
Okay.
And then now you've got your 1, 2, 3. And I think in this scenario, Michaelis is probably your number 4 starter going into next year.
I love that. And I think that's perfect for the Cardinals.
And this guy's basically free money-wise. Like you're slotting him in for $1 million.
By the way, somebody said, of course you'd like Yamamoto and Gray because that's a subpar offseason. How is that? What is a better offseason than that?
Dude, this is what I'm like.
Like, you're not getting Snell and Yamamoto.
I can already feel it. I'm going to be so frustrated this offseason by what Cardinals fans are hoping. Not even all of them. This is unfair. I painted with too broad of a brush by what some of our texters will qualify as a successful offseason. I don't know if there's anything the Cardinals can do reasonably that will satisfy fans this offseason. Yeah. Because Aaron Nola is not that guy for a lot of fans, and I understand that. Sonny Gray doesn't have the name recognition that fans want, even though
he's got Snell. He's
got a sub 3.5 ERA over the last 5 years. That seems pretty good to me. I just don't know who they could go out and acquire. Like Blake Snell comes with the 5 and dive mantra, and that's certainly not going to play with a lot of our audience here.
I mean, Yamamoto is who people have been clamoring for since his name popped up into the rumor mill, and now that's a subpar offseason. I'm with you. I think we're going to be very frustrated at the reaction of what this offseason is if the Cardinals are aggressive with it.
If I told you the Cardinals next year have a guy that is 26 years old in their rotation with a 3.66 ERA, they basically have added what they thought Matthew Liberatore could be, but they did so on the cheap.
Yeah.
That's what Braxton Garrett has the potential to be. He just did that this year for the Marlins. So I think it would be a really good move, and it's a move that doesn't require you to trade Nolan Gorman or Lars Nootbaar, and that is what really appeals to me. Alex, what do you got?
Bet it or forget it. Let's take injuries out of this conversation. Bet it or forget it. We'll see Malcolm Subban at some point in the NHL this season for the Blues.
Bet it. I think you'll see him at some point. There will be some kind of an injury where you place one of your goalies on.
But take injury out of this.
Oh.
Like performance-based, Malcolm Subban gets an opportunity.
I'm going to forget that. I think it'll be requiring an injury.
Look, I might actually bet this one. I'm very curious at what their thought process is here. Like, I know that Joel Hofer was slotted in that spot. I mean, Joel Hofer, he hasn't looked overwhelmingly great to me, at least in the couple of preseason games we've seen. Malcolm Subban has been awesome, and Malcolm Subban will have to deal with waivers. I wonder if Malcolm Subban plays the entire game on Thursday night against Dallas, and if he performs well, I mean, Joel Hofer doesn't have waivers. Now, that is a bold situation that they would do because Joel Hofer doesn't really need to do anything else in the minors. But, man, if Malcolm Subban performs this well, do you risk losing him on waivers?
Yeah, and I would forget this because I think they're still going to go with Hofer and backing up Bennington. But I do wonder if they lose Subban when he gets placed on waivers to go down to the minor leagues. And I don't think they would send Hofer down because I think they want him up here getting NHL experience and backing up Jordan Bennington. But Tampa Bay hasn't made a move that I've seen yet for a goalkeeper now that Vasilevsky's out. And they don't have Brian Elliott anymore. I can't remember the name of their starter right now. They could use someone that's got some NHL experience. And if Subban goes down and he does have to go through waivers, if I'm not mistaken, I could see where Tampa Bay could potentially put a claim in on him.
They tried to get the dude that Columbus claimed, and they missed out because Columbus was ahead of them.
I think there's a chance that they are a team that could steal Subban from underneath the Blues if they try to send him through waivers.
301-439-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. Guys, Yamamoto would be fine in my opinion, but Sonny Gray can't win in the postseason. Where's this coming from?
What is this? Well, isn't this what Randy said? Randy said he was a choke artist.
Oh, okay.
He had one bad game with the Yankees in the postseason.
His bad game was 3.1 innings with 3 earned runs.
I'll take that over some of the Cardinals' bad games.
He has a 2.95 ERA in the postseason, guys. His problem is his teams haven't made it.
I was going to say, look at the teams he's been on.
And I know what's coming next. Well, clearly, BK, that's because he's not a good starting pitcher. Man, Mike Trout hasn't made the postseason since 2014.
Shohei Ohtani hasn't either.
Exactly. He never made the playoffs.
Why
you guys not want him?
Why would you sign Shohei Ohtani? He's never been in the playoffs. He can't perform.
Come on, man. The guy has 2.8 ERA this year. He had a 3.1 ERA the year before that.
And
4 years ago, he had a 3.7. Before that, 2.9.
And guess what? If you want to make the postseason, you're going to have decent regular season numbers. And look at his regular season numbers.
And he's done it in, you just read off those numbers. One of those years I think you read off was Cincinnati. He can pitch there. He can pitch anywhere.
Yeah, I'll take Sonny Gray every day of the week over some of these other
flat
guys.
out false. It's not accurate. So I don't know where that's coming from specifically. I'm sure that it's not just Randy that's saying that, but...
Well, look at the name recognition, too, though. Like, people don't want Sonny Gray because they want Shohei Ohtani. They want the shiny new toy. The problem is, guys, Shohei's not pitching next year.
Also, we got to remember this. It's different because of the ages, but Zach Wheeler wasn't Zach Wheeler before the Phillies signed him. He became Zach Wheeler with the Phillies. And I'm not telling you that Sonny Gray is going to become that, but... You could end up with a legit number 2 starter if you go out there and sign Sonny Gray. And I know that there's been some questions about, hey, does he fade down the stretch? This year in 11 starts in August and September, he has a 2.0 ERA. He's allowed 15 earned runs in the last 2 months of the season. That's over 11 starts.
Here's his team ERA.
It's been great, man.
3.4 ERA with Oakland, 3.4 ERA with Cincinnati, 2.9 with Minnesota. His bad years were when he was 27 and 28 with the New York Yankees, and that was a 4.5. He got better after the Yankees while he got older.
He's basically had one bad season since 2016. He's a really good starting pitcher, and I think people remember him from that year with the Yankees where things didn't go well, and he's talked about it since, how things just went awry. They've got a very stern, stringent way that they go about things in New York. He tried to bend himself to do what they wanted to do instead of being true to himself, and since then he said, I'm doing it my way. I'm going to go out there and be the pitcher that I need to be, and he's been fantastic
How's
ever
that
since.
Yankees pitching model looking?
Yeah,
exactly.
Seriously. Just don't play in New York if you want to be a pitcher.
Now we got somebody that said he's constantly injured.
He's never
I was
injured.
going to say, isn't he 200 innings consistently every
32,
season?
25, 25, 11 starts during the pandemic season, 31, 30, 27. That's what he started in terms of the last 7 years of his major league career. He's gone at least 135 innings every single one of those years.
We should put together a recorded PSA so that people stop talking ill of Sonny Gray. That just airs all offseason.
Who are these guys that you're going out there and acquiring this offseason other than Aaron Nola that are throwing 180 plus innings every single year?
Ohtani!
Yeah, he doesn't give you that either. So
Doesn't give you
and
anything.
He doesn't have an arm. So
But he can hit.
look at Gray's postseason
And the Cardinals
numbers. We
need
have enough
hitting.
unclutch players. All right, go look at him, sir, ma'am, whoever you
know
are.
what?
Go look at Sonny Gray's postseason numbers. You let me know what you see. The 2.95 ERA looks pretty good to me.
All right, your tone is getting aggressive, and now we're going to have to do this.
Now we're just
I just don't understand. What are we doing here?
Hit the
I'm
button.
telling you, we need a PSA with Sarah McLaughlin's voice underneath and be like, let's stop talking ill about Sonny Gray.
Just if you want to say that Sonny Gray's not your cup of tea, you don't like him for whatever reason, that's fine. If you think that he's too old, that's cool. Fine by me. But
I love how he's trying to rationalize this while he's getting set up to get shocked.
Fine by me. Let me just get my legs up here.
I don't care.
don't be out here spouting nonsense that's just factually inaccurate.
Speaking of nonsense,
About
BK's
logic and
picks are
reason.
coming this Friday, and you could follow or fade him if you'd like.
So if you go over to YouTube, youtube.com/101ESPN STL, mistakes were made. I picked bad football teams to win football games, and they didn't do that. You can watch me get punished right now via this little machine that we have that is simulating contractions during childbirth. We've been doing this all day today. At the end of every segment, we've got 3 more remaining the rest of the show today. So check that out over on YouTube. The studio cams are powered by Air Alliance Team.
And make sure you go listen to it on the podcast page and hear BK scream audibly, making your ringtone moving forward. Presented by Dobbs Tire and Auto Center with our podcast page.
All right, buddy.
You ready?
No.
Here we go. I know, I keep
Absolutely
asking you
not.
that. It doesn't make sense.
All
Remember, don't kick me here. All right, here we go. 3, 2, Potter up. Oh, we're beeping again. Okay, hold on. We're going to turn her off.
Go to 0.
I know.
Adjust your.
Yeah, I was going to say, pot them, push them on, make sure they're
Push
tight.
your pads on tight.
They're on all the way. There's
Hey,
nothing.
there's no need to get angry with us, buddy.
You're gonna make it move up a level.
No. Oh, okay, that's on.
We're good. We're on 4.
Oh, that's a hard one.
That was only 3. That was only 3. Man, 20 seconds is going to be rough for you, my man. But guess what? We're going to talk about the Cardinals players and coaches. They're saying the right things for this offseason. The front office going to back it up. We'll dive into that once BK catches his breath next here on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendricks here with a Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The MLB playoffs start today, as coming up in just about 20 minutes, the Rangers will start the playoffs by taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. Blue Jays Twins at 3:30, D-backs Brewers at 6. And tonight here on 101 ESPN, we will have Game 1 between the Marlins and the Philadelphia Phillies. Pre-game coverage will start tonight at 6:30. This Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. You've got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. There's a lot of things that can be fixed. That's what Wilson Contreras said the other day to the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. He continued, hopefully this offseason, the front office or whoever is in charge of that will make this team better for next year because this team is known for winning. The season was bad, and we all know that we need some fixing. I'm just saying that because that's the way that it is. I mean, we were in last place. Some of the details need to be fixed. Some of the issues need to be fixed. And are they going to be fixed? That's something that's out of my control. But I can say it, and I know that the people in the front office know what's right and what's wrong with the team. Hopefully, they'll do something to fix those problems, end quote. That's all from Wilson Contreras via the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Alex, when you combine that quote with what we heard yesterday from Ollie Marmol, who said basically, hey, this is unacceptable and we have to get it fixed and the mindset needs to be championship or bust going into next season. The players and the coaches are saying everything that you would want to hear. And now it's on the front office. And it comes down to whether or not they have the urgency that is necessary to go out there and win bidding wars. Because that's what it's going to be. Whether it's via trade, winning a bidding war for one of the pitchers that you're looking for, via free agency, winning a literal bidding war, an auction in that regard, or going out into free agency and international markets. You got to win that way as well. You've got to find a way to find it within you, the internal fortitude to go out there and say, you know what, this sucks. We're having to pay $7 million a year more than what we were really wanting to here. But we have to do it because this is the only way that we can make our team into a legitimate contender again in 2024.
Yeah, and I personally love that Wilson Contreras is saying that. I love the fact that there are multiple entities coming out of that Cardinals clubhouse that are basically stating this team can't be this bad, and to do that, they have to fix the issues. Ollie has talked about wanting to make sure we have a roster that wants to win a championship. Contreras says this. Let's not forget about Nolan Arenado, who said this last trade deadline that we need improvements to this team. Ollie's clamored for swing and miss stuff that this team doesn't have. The writing's on the wall, and as much as we want to be critical about Ollie Marmol and he's not the manager that can take this team to a World Series, or you don't have the actual studs to win, the fingers should be pointed at the front office moving forward. And I know a lot of people do that, but it's put in front of you what this offseason has to acquire. It has to acquire you moving on from certain pieces that you've been relying on that haven't lived up to those expectations. It's trading for pieces that you do not have, swing and miss stuff, and top-level rotation pieces, and fixing an entire bullpen that has had issues. All of those things are right in front of this Cardinals team, and if Mo doesn't fix those, if the excuses is, well, we couldn't get guys to agree to come here, or it was a puke point for us that we just couldn't afford to pay, those are all excuses, and you're going to be doing the same thing next year.
Somebody on the text line said, guys, let's be honest. It's not just the front office. The ownership also has to sign off on winning these bidding wars. In fact, I would say it's not really the front office. It's literally the ownership group. Yeah. I think there have been times in the past where the front office would like to do something. I think it's as recently as last year. And ownership said, is that really necessary? Like, are we really going to go out there and pay that amount of money for that pitcher? And ultimately, they decided to pull back a little bit. They decided to restrain themselves willingly. This offseason, they've got to be willing to just kind of throw caution at the wind and see what it ends up bringing to them. Like they made an aggressive move, and it's why I'm not as critical about this move as a lot are, to go out there and acquire Marcell Ozuna. They didn't have the middle of the order bat. They needed it, and they needed it immediately. And so they went out there and they tried to solve that problem by acquiring a guy that projected to be a consistent 30 home run hitter, 100-plus RBIs every year as a cleanup hitter. Marcell Ozuna failed here. It didn't work out. He was injured. The bat didn't play the way that a lot of people wanted it to. And let's be honest, the pieces around him weren't good enough for his bat to play the way that you wanted it to here. And what you traded away was 2 future Cy Young candidates. The deal failed spectacularly, but it was aggressive. And that's the kind of move that you're going to have to make this offseason. It very well may fail again. You might end up trading 2 guys that end up going on and being all-stars somewhere else. So be it, man. That's the kind of thing that you've got to be willing to do going into this offseason.
Yeah, I'm going to have to be aggressive. And I do like the fact that you're starting to see a lot of pushing from all directions. Contreras pushing now on the front office. A lot of people say, and I'm glad you brought up Ollie's name, Alex. A lot of people push back, will say, oh, Ollie's just a puppet of the front office. Ollie's been saying, even last year when they were winning, hey, we need more swing and miss. He said he'd been saying that when they had a winning club, and now he's saying it again while they've had a losing club. What is the key, especially now that the shift has been banned? We've got to miss bats, and that is something that they're going to have to be not just aggressive in pursuing pitching, they're going to be aggressive in pursuing pitchers that miss bats, and not only just pursuing that for this year, they've got to change their whole organization model in terms of pitching. And that is going to be something that's going to be even a tougher task than the one they're about to pursue this offseason and trying to find guys that can help the current major league team. So they're getting under pressure, the front offices and ownership. I agree with you. It is both.
Mo can only do what the money's in front of him with.
And that's why it's going to be a crucial offseason for them this coming year. Man, I can't even finish my thought seriously with him just casually moving up.
It's a legacy-defining offseason is what this is.
And I think it's, to your point on, you've got to be willing to be risky. I mean, if this goes wrong, they could be set back for 3 to 5 years.
Absolutely. And
it'll also be the last thing that you remember of the John Mozeliak tenure. Now, think about that. Think about that kind of pressure that's putting on both John Mozeliak and the Bill DeWitt ownership group of whatever happens this offseason, it will define the next 3 to 5 years of Cardinals baseball, which means that is the lasting impact of Mo's tenure here in St. Louis, which should be remembered fondly. I genuinely believe that. I know Cardinals fans hate him right now because this season went horribly. In the last 5 years, for Cardinal standards, have been a failure because they have yet to reach a World Series. They haven't done that in a decade. However, the majority of this tenure has been a success by John Mozeliak here in St. Louis. It will not be remembered as such if they're not able to get this thing back on track. That is what is at stake going into this offseason.
This is the most heat he has ever felt on his seat in his entire career in St. Louis. And frankly, it should be that way. He recognizes it. Ollie recognizes it. DeWitt's recognize it. But you got to back it up this offseason. Hand it over, buddy.
Hey, you're almost there.
Yeah, I was
going
to say, you've got 30 more seconds of this. Not now, 10 seconds, and then boy, the 20 seconds is a very.
Can everybody see me on YouTube? All right.
Yes, sir.
All right. 101
All right.
ESPN STL is where you find us on YouTube.
Oh, I thought you already turned it on, and I just started cranking it.
If you aren't sure what's going on, why I'm sitting here instead of standing the way that I normally am on YouTube, I'm being punished for my football picks this week. This is the contraption that simulates the contractions that I would be feeling if I was going through labor. It has been absolutely exhausting. My body is sore. I am tired. I'm ready to go home and take a nap. My wife told me that is not allowed.
You are experiencing the beauty of life right now.
Yeah, something like that. All right.
Only like a minute of it.
Yeah, 10 seconds.
You ready to go?
I'm ready when you are, buddy. We're going to crank this up a little bit more.
No.
What do you mean, no? We're going to 4.
Yeah, level 4.
We're at level 4. All right, stop looking at me. I'm going to turn this on. You ready?
All right, whenever you're ready.
Left is going to hit first, then the right's going to hit.
Oh, fun.
Here we go.
Okay. What do you mean?
Show me the clock.
That's it.
The rewind in 20 seconds is next.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK, you've got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Hey, coming up on Thursday, we've got a live military appreciation broadcast from 2 to 6 o'clock. It'll be the Fast Lane. They're going to be out there at the Exchange at Scott Air Force Base. So if you're a service member, their family, or anybody currently on base, the Exchange at Scott Air Force Base is the place to be Thursday from 2 to 6 o'clock. It's all brought to you by Budweiser and Air Comfort Service Heating and Cooling. Sorry, I apologize.
Words are starting to mesh together on him.
There's a lot going on.
We broke BK.
If you missed anything from today's show, I would honestly just rewatch it on YouTube today.
Please, it's even better.
The podcast is brought to you by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers, 101ESPN.com, and the free 101 ESPN app is also where you can go to find it. How would you guys rate today's show?
This is the best one we've ever done.
We've been together now for what? 3 years, 2 years. This is the best show we've ever put together.
I'm going to disagree.
I think it's great.
Many that have been better.
I think the punishments we came up with, as T-Bone would say, chef's kiss. 20 more seconds, buddy, and then you're done.
Hey, just think, man. You're about to complete the circle of life.
Oh.
Don't do that.
Come on, buddy.
YouTube can't hear this, but this is great.
Like, you've just had a baby, essentially.
Yeah.
This is what this is.
And look, we'll play this nice little flute solo for you.
Have you assessed how awful you are at picks?
Oh,
okay. Like, have you
we knew that, though.
Have you made changes with your life on those picks? Okay.
I'm attempting to.
Cool. Man, you should probably work a little harder because we start on Friday. All right, buddy, you ready?
Before we get to that, let's get to our picks for the playoffs. Blue Jays versus Twins. Who you got?
Blue Jays.
I'm going Twins.
I'm going to go Blue Jays. That's the one that I have the least confidence in. Texas Rangers versus Tampa Bay Rays. Who you got?
Rangers.
Yeah, I'm going to say Rangers, but I feel like that's a Rays. I feel like that's going to be a Rays series win.
I've got the Rays in this one. Diamondbacks versus Brewers.
Diamondbacks.
I'm going Diamondbacks.
I've got Diamondbacks as well. Phillies
hit.
versus Marlins. We got Philly in this one. So Philly versus Atlanta. Who you got?
Atlanta.
I'm going to go Atlanta, too.
I'm going Philly. LA Dodgers versus the Diamondbacks. Who you got?
Diamondbacks.
Diamondbacks as well. The Twins/Blue Jays versus Astros. We got Houston.
Astros.
Yeah, I'm going to go Houston.
Houston advancing. And
I wish it'd be Blue Jays, though.
Orioles versus Texas/Tampa. Who you got?
I'm going to say Orioles.
I'm going to say Orioles, too.
I don't think Texas is going to have the pitching to get through that series.
People are sleeping on Baltimore a little bit. I've got Baltimore making it to the World Series this year, and I've got them playing against the Phillies.
Yeah.
I've got Houston taking on Atlanta.
Yep.
And I think I've got Houston winning.
And I've got Atlanta winning.
All right.
Pop up, big boy. Man, I'm so proud of you. Like, what I told my wife is, I've never loved you more. Now, she had a baby. Yeah, I told my wife that.
You were talking about me.
No, I'm telling you that, too. Like, I've never loved you more.
Oh, that's great,
she
man.
had
This
a
is
baby.
real bonding then.
But I do feel like this just built our relationship that much more. But we still have 20 straight seconds of this, and this is going to be great. All right.
I'm not excited.
You got your clock ready? Make sure I can see it, because I just don't know, and then I'll just keep going. All right, here we go. The final one of the show. We're going.
Which side are we going on?
Left first.
Yep, I found it.
Left first. Now your right one should be hitting.
Okay, here we go.
He's only 3 seconds in.
Okay. All right. Seconds left. We have 10 seconds left. Woo! Everything you got. Everything you got. Everything you got.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yay! Is it coming through?
I don't think so.
Hold on.
Buddy, what are you doing?
Should be coming through. All right. Well, I got it on.
What are we doing here?
It's on, so you should be feeling.